Rob and Akiva need a podcast, and they need your help. Can you make it onto the wheel? Rob and Akiva need a podcast. Yeah, they'll buy or sell your ideas. They'll talk about it till you got it, you bill. Every weekend, you better attend. You can guess what will be coming up next. Rob and Akiva need a podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Rob and Akiva need a podcast. It's March, and you know what that means? Time for some brackets here on Rob and Akiva need a podcast, episode number 211. And now here we are back with one of podcasting's greatest dads. Here he is, the focus of the latest Pod Friends. It's Uncle Akiva Wienerkur.
Rob, happy
Yep.
bracket season.
Happy bracket season.
Welcome to, as they call it, the Showcase of the Immortals, March's bracket season.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be here with you today, and I know the feeling is mutual.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, the first one is the easy one. It's like, all right, here we go. Here's a bracket. It's when, we've done it like 3 weeks in a row, and it's like, what are we even doing? Okay. But hey, look, we're not competing with any other brackets this weekend. This is a one that everybody's very excited about. We're talking about the TV Dad bracket. We are on video for this episode of the podcast. Now, normally we can't see Akiva during the recording of the podcast. Today we can see him, but that Akiva has this green screen background on where his head is floating like the Cheshire Cat. If you're watching this video, you can just see a floating Akiva head in front of a very classy background.
Very classy. You're assuming that's not mine.
Akiva, I think a lot of people have shared your home. People are podcasting from your house because I see that.
Well, you mentioned
background a lot.
Pod Friends, and I wasn't in my normal spot, so I just did that background. And I signed on here without switching it. I forgot to switch it or anything like that.
Okay. All right. Definitely. By the way, check out a great interview with Akiva on the latest episode of Pod Friends, going through much of the greater Akiva history.
Yeah, I had a very fun time with Matt Scott, Pod Friends. It's on YouTube. Check it out.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right. Well, let's bring in. We've got some people who are experts in TV dads in particular. All right. First off, let's welcome back the actual dad here to the podcast. Joining us once again, Jason Reed. Jason, how are you?
Rob, I'm good. Happy to be here with you. The Wish.com version of Zordon from Power Rangers. Just a floating head in a tube. Happy to be here. I thought this was a podcast of dads that watch TV, so I'm here. I was misinformed, apparently.
Greatest TV watching dads.
Yeah, so I was misinformed. I thought I'm in the wrong place, but it's okay. I'm glad to be here with you guys to talk about the greatest TV dads.
Okay.
Rob, did you know this is Jason's 5th time on the podcast? He's officially in the 5-timers club now.
I knew that Jason is a great recurring guest. Didn't know what his episode count was up to.
I didn't even know. This is news to me.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Jason. Okay. All right. And then also here with us, okay, not a dad, maybe a zaddy.
You see it.
Here he is. Of course, my co-host from Nothing But Netflix, Chappelle, is here. Chappelle, how are you?
I'm good, Rob, and great company, obviously, for the daddy bracket. It's I when I heard Jason, Akiva, Rob, I was like, I have to come because who else is going to bring that daddy spice that we need to all these dads?
Yeah.
Chappelle, not a dad that he or anyone else knows of yet.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say now. Look, I could be a dad, but I'm not going to claim that. But I'll claim the daddy title as many times as I want to, actually.
And Chappelle, this is not your first bracket season.
Do you think anybody's ever gotten served?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, excuse me, sir, you're the daddy. Like, I'm sorry, you have the wrong person.
We should do that live on a podcast one day. That'd be fun.
I think it's every episode of Maury.
What bracket was Chappelle on last? What were you on last, Chappelle?
Well, I think famously he was on the TV theme song bracket 2.
Yeah, the one that broke
we-
Rob, I believe is what it
yes.
was. Yeah.
No, that was not the one that broke. that was the first sort of like fault. That was the first. That's not the one that broke me.
Yeah, it was like I just started to chip away at at your armor a little bit with that one, and then I think
Well,
it
it wasn't you, with all due respect.
yeah, we had a good time. The listeners were not happy about my opinions about some of the theme songs, but ultimately
Yeah.
I think the right song won.
Some
I don't
people
remember
can't
what it
handle
was, but-
bracket season.
Yeah, they can't, and that's why we only do it once a year. And so this is the most wonderful time of year, y'all. We're here. Let's do it.
Okay.
It's true.
All right. So TV dad bracket here. Akiva, can you talk a little bit about how this all came together?
Yes. So we put out a form for our wonderful listeners who showed up. If we ever ask them anything like to do with TV knowledge or pop culture knowledge, they show up early and often. You know what I mean? We have a lot of TV fanatics and passionate TV fans out there. So we had hundreds of people submit up to 10 names, but 2 like main ones that they could sort of pitch their case why they're the best TV dad. And we calculated the 28 most sort of pitched dads, the dads that came up the most, and put those in a 32-person bracket. And the final 4 spots will also be determined today. Yourself, me, Chappelle, and Jason will each get to add 1 dad to the bracket. We could do that at the very end of the first round after you've heard the other 28 dads.
Okay. I noticed you said we. Is that a royal we, or did you have a team of people helping you?
People helped me. The person who did the most work was actually Alex Chester, who made a very nice bracket that if you are on the YouTube version, I won't share it until the end of the first round, so you could be spoiled. You won't, you and the podcasters won't be spoiled on who's in the bracket, but we got pictures of a very nice looking bracket for that will show starting with the Sweet 16. But right now we're up to the Thrifty 32. We're not there yet.
Okay. Do we need to establish any criteria for what makes the best TV dad?
I think with a lot of brackets, one of the things that make it interesting is we might have different metrics, right? Best is very subjective. It could be the person you'd want to be your dad. It could be, the best TV character dad. I think it really is up to each person. I think we'll sort of learn as we go how we're each voting, but it might be different.
Yeah, I mean, you could be a good dad, but not have that much to do on the show. You could, it really comes down to a lot of factors, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think listen, and some of the dads in this bracket were not great people also on most of them are really fake. But on their show they were not great. So
yeah, I mean, I probably all of them are fake.
Yeah, there was a Sam actually had a good point, Sam Moore, which is we should have a reality TV dad in the bracket. So if any of you want to, use your, Rob's choice or Chappelle's choice or Akiva or Jason's choice as a reality TV character, there are none in the 28 right now. I couldn't think of, a dad, and no one really got submitted.
Is Danny Bonaducci a dad?
Probably. I think so.
Okay.
How about Hulk Hogan?
Hulk Hogan's a good one. Yeah. Hogan knows best, Jason.
No, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
That's true.
All right. Akiva, and then are these seeded in any particular order?
No, but first round is a lot of like versus like matchups.
Okay.
But they're not seeded in a particular order. There's no number 1 seed. There's no favorite going in. Everyone has a chance.
Jason, Chappelle, anything else you want to ask Uncle Kiwi before we get going?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Akiva, why don't you let the festivities begin?
Okay, so we're going to start a little region here that happens to be animated dads, okay?
Okay.
So the first matchup, we're going to have Homer Simpson of The Simpsons versus Peter Griffin of Family Guy.
The bar's in hell.
That's a loser versus loser bracket.
Listen, someone's got to win.
Someone does have to win.
Now, Chappelle, do you have a thought here? Like, are you thinking about it at all as like who is more entertaining to you, or are you thinking about it in terms of like how were their parenting skills?
Well, see, these are two very entertaining dads. So I want to be very clear that that's going to be hard to separate. Now, the parenting skills also is going to be difficult because both of them are horrible parents and horrible husbands as well. So you really have to dive into those character moments that make these two characters special. And I think that's what's going to make this difficult
Mhm.
because the funniness is why they're popular. I don't think anybody thinks of Homer Simpson or Peter Griffin as a dad first when they're thinking about these characters.
How about for you,
I think he's
Jason?
I think the bar is definitely low for better parenting, but I do think that one has more better parenting moments than the other. So I think that's where my choice will go. So I think that's what I'm basing this particular decision on.
Akiva, do you have
Do
a
we-
front runner right now?
Well, do we blame Homer? I know my dad and a lot of dads I knew growing up hated The Simpsons because Bart calls Homer Homer. You know, I think that really struck a nerve with a lot of dads, like don't call your dad by their first name. And do we blame Homer Simpson for like his son being a scoundrel who misbehaves, you know?
Yeah,
Because that's
I
tough.
think that Bart Simpson is a worse kid than Chris. Is that the son on Family
Yes.
Guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily bad. He's just like kind of like awkward and weird.
And he's dumb.
However,
Well,
Yeah.
Stewie's a terrorist. So how do
Stewie
you, how
is
do you
a literal criminal. Yeah.
yeah, he's a terrorist. How do you explain that? Like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and Maggie
And it
can't
was
even talk-
Brian Griffin, technically Peter Griffin's son.
No,
he's a dog
more
dad.
Like,
No.
He's more like his cuck brother. You know, like he really
Yeah.
wants to have some Lois time. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's his dad. There's probably another name for that.
For me, I don't even know if Peter Griffin is a good dad. I feel like that, not that I am super well versed in, the entire library of Family Guy, but I feel like there are times when Homer is trying to be a good dad and, wants to do things for his kids and his family. I don't feel like that there are a lot of Family Guy episodes where Peter is trying to do something nice for his kids.
Yeah, I think the thing with Family Guy is they go over the top to mistreat their kids. If we just think about like Peter and Meg Griffin, where is the worst relationship on the show how they treat Meg Griffin, I think for me it's a no-brainer. And there are a lot of Simpsons episodes, like you said, Rob, where Homer will be trying to parent and he'll sometimes fall backwards into good parenting. So I think that for me that's the difference in why I would give it to Homer over Peter here.
Yeah. I think this is kind of a blowout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think like Lisa versus Meg Griffin. Lisa's a superstar. Like that,
Yeah.
Lisa Homer gets some credit for. She's great. Meg Griffin is like another version of like almost Chris or brother or a little bit more Bartish.
But
And
Maggie
plus Peter hates her.
Maggie has existed for over 20 years and still can't talk. Stewie is a 1-year-old and could talk already. So I mean,
That's interesting.
can we think about like how they've
little more
taught
advanced.
their kid how to talk? And I mean,
Yeah.
Maggie has been gaga gooing.
But would you rather your kid not be able to talk or like an international
I
criminal?
mean,
basically,
sometimes you don't want them to talk. Like I will say that.
Yeah, and let's not take anything away from Maggie. She did shoot Mr. Burns. I
Yeah, that's
vividly
true.
remember that.
She's had
And-
firearms training. That's part of parenting for some
He
people.
said there are no
Yeah.
good billionaires.
So are
Eat the
we
rich.
going to factor in like how the kids turned out into whether or not this person is a good dad?
I think it's part of dadding, right? Like if your kids end
How
up
your kids
disasters,
turned
it's gotta
out?
be on you a little bit.
I think if I think about future iterations that we've seen on the shows, now I have not seen every episode of Family Guy. I quit Family Guy a number of seasons ago, but I think of any future iterations we've ever seen on episodes, I think Lisa is like in some iterations has been a senator, has been a president. So I think if we're talking about how the kids will end up, I think we should still go with Homer.
Akiva, are you a nature versus nurture guy or nature or nurture guy? Because I feel like if your kids turned out like, okay, not so great, that's your fault.
I don't think it's always your fault. I think some things were always going to happen. I think certain things are unavoidable. But I do think like we can, the home you grow up in can like, you could convince your kid to be like
Homer.
A big science person like Lisa, or it's definitely on the count. Like, what else do we know about their? And also, who would you rather have your dad? I feel like Homer, he works hard at his nuclear power plant job, and he built a nice house, on like sort of as a middle class dad. It's very hard to do in 2023. I'm going Homer.
Yeah, I mean, you can take the dads and the kids into consideration, but these people are also married. They are not parenting on their own. So not to do why women this, but women be shopping, and Lois the mom versus Marge the mom might be a tougher conversation. But I really think that Homer, he beats Peter, every time. I think a lot of the things Peter does in protection of his kids is just because Peter's a horrible person, and those things kind of align at the same time. Like Chris has a bully, and so I want to go pick on the bully because it's Chris, but it's also I just felt like picking on a bully, and whereas I think like when Homer does things like when he buys Lisa the saxophone, it's because he wants to see Lisa smile. So I think that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's Homer over Peter Griffin. I don't think it's close.
Yeah. Homer almost said that he loved her, in that moment where he wrote that on the he inscribed it on his on the saxophone almost. It almost got there. Whereas I don't think I've ever heard Peter utter those words to any of his
Well, I don't
children.
think he loves his kids, so why would he say
Yeah,
that?
he wouldn't. He wouldn't.
All right.
Yeah.
So Homer advances. Next matchup in this little pod of animated characters. Two different types of shows. We have Fred Flintstone versus Randy Marsh from South Park.
Ooh.
Oh man.
Gosh.
Does Fred even know Pebbles exists?
Right. When I think of the Flintstones, I don't think of Fred as a father. I
As
think
a great dad.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly of my Flintstones knowledge, Pebbles came like, a while after the show was already in existence. But the problem is Randy Marsh is such a terrible father in every way imaginable that I'm not sure how you can even put Randy over anyone.
Jason, are you a big South Park guy?
Again, like Family Guy, I have not seen South Park. I think I did see like one of those animated specials like a year ago, like it was about COVID or something.
They made headlines with the most recent episode talking about Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, but I'm not a regular South Park watcher anymore. I haven't been.
Meghan Markle did not like it.
I have a feeling she to watch it. I think that's like her publicist. Talking,
but you know what? I think if I was Meghan Markle's publicist, I think I would have said, "Hey, let's not
just
talk about it.
Let's
if I was Meghan, like I don't think anybody knew there was a Harry and Meghan South Park episode until you talked about it.
Right. It's like season 30 of this show. I think people are sort of.
Yeah, you kind of put it on the map.
Yeah, no, they were thrilled. Obviously, that's what they live for, is to have like people who are parodied say like, that's not fair. What are they going to do? Yeah, sue us, please. I know we got very into weed in the last like 10 seasons. Randy Marsh, he's like a weed salesman of some sort.
He was a weed farmer. He had a farm of selling weed. But I mean, Randy Marsh, I can't even recall him doing anything legitimately for his children. Like he's just a very selfish, like only does things for himself person. And I think by default, I would probably give it to Fred.
Yeah. Like Fred could not be present in his child's life and be a better dad than Randy Marsh.
He is an old school dad, Fred. Very old.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes to work at the quarry. He goes bowling, and he takes care of his family. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry here.
Yeah.
Randy Marsh, I'm on the South Park wiki page, so
don't look at
it
that.
has like some of his criminal record. Theft in Make Love Not Warcraft. He hijacked the person's car just so he could go to Best Buy to play World of Warcraft. Murder in Night of the Living. Okay, I can't even say a lot of this stuff. He does a few murders. He strangles Winnie the Pooh in order to appease the Chinese government. Drunk driving, Bloody Mary. He drives drunk, gets his license arrested. Arson. He burns down 2 stores, Walmart and Jim's Drugs. All right, so he's not the best guy in the world. Domestic terrorism. Okay, he's got a long rap sheet.
Well, but how did his kids turn out? I thought we were going to take it to the holistic approach here.
I mean, compared to his friends, Stan is, he's not a bad guy. He's sort of like the moral compass of the group,
usually
right?
a sensible one in the group.
Yeah. I mean, he's friends with Cartman. Like, how many people could, when you're a kid, didn't your parents say, like, don't hang out with that kid? Cartman's like the ultimate don't hang out with that kid. And he still made it out okay. I mean, he's still stuck in like the 6th grade or something, but
yeah,
he survived.
Do we know how Pebbles turned out?
Good question.
There was a show that was the teenage Pebbles and Bam Bam.
Yeah,
and I do believe it turned out pretty well. I mean, nothing concerning. I mean, it is the Flintstones, so how we compare the Flintstones and South Park, two very different shows where things that happen on South Park would not happen on the Flintstones.
Not at all. I think at best Pebbles ends up like marrying Bam Bam, who is like the next door neighbor's kids. So I mean, I don't think anything bad has come from the Flintstone household. I don't think. I could be wrong.
So
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
Pebbles has ever been brought home by the like Flintstone PD, like whatever their place was called. Like, I don't think she's ever been caught for shoplifting rocks or whatever you want to call it
Yeah.
from the quarry.
Rock lifting,
mean-
if you will.
Yeah,
Fred Flintstone doesn't have that many things in his favor, but Randy has so many negatives that basically I think that Fred Flintstone wins here by default.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so yeah, he advances. All right, next matchup is Al Bundy from Married with Children.
Okay, so we're out of the animated bracket.
We're out of there. There will be one or two more animated characters, but that was
Okay.
like an animated pod. And Phil Dunphy from Modern Family, and see if you could see the connection there.
I mean,
Okay.
no contest. I don't feel like we even have to discuss this like very much.
Yeah, so that is his. I'm not a big Modern Family guy. That's his father-in-law in the show.
No,
I
Phil
believe
Dunphy-
that's his actual dad.
Phil
I
is
don't think
dad.
that
Dad?
Sofia Vergara is his mom.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, you're
Phil
right.
Dunphy,
That his wife is Ed
Al Bundy's
O'Neill's
daughter.
daughter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Claire.
Okay. Yes.
My kids, my wife and daughter just finished watching all of Modern Family.
Incredible.
precious show.
That is a amazing accomplishment. There,
It's a lot of
I think
episodes.
are like 400 episodes.
They watched it every night. They have like a little date before they go to sleep, and they watch 1 or 2 episodes a night, and they just finished it.
Mhm.
Yeah, the youngest kids at the beginning of that show were in elementary school, and by the end they were in college. So
Mhm.
I should tell you
They were not complimentary about the finale. I think they said it was like too cheesy for a show that wasn't like very cheesy most of the time.
Oh my god, I can't believe they got to a finale.
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
Yeah, I have nothing really in common TV wise with my wife. But all right, this is an easy win for Phil Dunphy, who was really one of the most.
We didn't even talk it
dads.
through.
Well, I mean, if you were to
We
compare
can talk
Al-
about it. Do you think Al Bundy's a better dad than Phil Dunphy?
No,
Well,
but
no.
I thought I didn't think we were just like.
No,
like,
I know, but people were saying there's an easy one. What do you think about Al Bundy? Because I was not a big Married with Children guy. My wife, I remember saying she was not allowed to watch that show
Yeah.
and The Simpsons because, like I said,
We were not allowed to watch Married with Children
Mm-hmm.
either, but we still like would sneak it in.
somehow found a way
Right.
around it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
y'all got
I
me
mean-
questioning my own parents because I was watching all this shit.
Yeah, Al Bundy, I think, was really like the first TV dad who like openly like had disdain for his family. I don't think that this person was on television before that.
So Al Bundy, from what I remember, really loved his daughter, Kelly, I think, but hated his son Bud and hated his wife. So I think the only parenting like plus we can give is he really loved his daughter.
So I would not necessarily co-sign that. I don't think that he hated Bud. I think Bud was kind of weird, and I don't know if necessarily he like loved. I don't know. Maybe
No, he hated them all. You're right. No,
Yeah.
he hated them all.
He just wanted to be left alone so he could watch
Yeah.
TV and put his hands down his pants and read Biggins and drink
Yes,
beer and watch football and talk about when he used to play high school football.
Rob, you have a lot. You have your finger on the pulse of this one for someone who wasn't allowed to watch it. You double back for the.
I
Married with
wasn't
Children
allowed
content?
to, Chappelle,
you
but
and
you know
Dominic
I'm a
just binge
rebel.
Modern with Family.
Yeah.
Married with
Like,
Children.
yeah, you're pretty much right. I mean, that's pretty much Al Bundy. He hates his family, so that should just go ahead and tell you how good of a dad he is. At best, he like would compliment Bud on being smarter than Kelly, and that's the bars in hell. And then he has a horrible wife who he hates, and so I don't think as a pair they're good parents, but he is definitely not a great dad. So
I think Al Bundy was the first TV dad that I saw on TV that jokingly, talked about killing his wife, like like his wife being dead.
yeah, this is really bad. And honestly, I think the seating doesn't work out in his favor at all. Going up against Phil, who we could probably find very few negative things to say. That it's just like net negative all the way across. You go with Al Bundy, who is he's Randy Marsh levels of bad, and he's not like it's not great, but I mean that's probably the only person he could have beat in this bracket.
Yeah. Phil is kind of a super dad that he is very much like there for his kids. Like he is like a consummate family man. And so like I think Phil is probably one of the better dads that we're gonna see in this bracket.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about best dad, like and taking out entertainment value, I think Phil is definitely in the final four.
Mhm.
It's gonna be tough to beat him. But I will say this: Al's life sucks, And it's, like he's got the horrible job that he hates. He's got a
He's a shoe
family,
salesman.
Yeah, but he's got to look at feet all the time. This isn't
Some people
great.
don't mind that, Chappelle.
Yeah, some people
But
would
Al
like
Bundy
that job.
does. He really hates his job, and it seems to be the only job that he can have. But his family, generally speaking, is happy. So there's that. I mean, I think Al Bundy beats Peter Griffin. So it's like he's not.
Yeah.
Peter
Floor's very
doesn't
low,
hate his
but yeah.
family, but he doesn't do anything good for them. So I feel like we were being hard on Al Bundy, so I had to put my cape on for a second. He still loses this round, but he's not Peter Griffin bad.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that matchup has one of the write-ins. This is the Akiva write-in versus Ned Stark. We'll save that for the very end of the first round. Let's bounce to across the pod here, and this is the Bryan Cranston versus Bryan Cranston matchup. People have been asking for. People asked for this matchup, and we gave it to them. This is Hal Wilkerson from Malcolm in the Middle versus Walter White from Breaking Bad. Cranston versus Cranston.
Okay, now first off, I was not a Malcolm in the Middle guy, so I don't really know about Bryan Cranston on Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, one of the reasons we had 4, if you're wondering, hey, this is like a vote, and you're an even number of people. How's that going to work? Good question. If we ever have a 2-2 tie, but I figured some of us haven't seen every single show. That's why I invited 2 people who have seen almost every show. And I figured if one of us hasn't seen the show, we could help them out with it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Malcolm in the Middle. Did Chappelle or Jason? Did you guys watch Malcolm in the Middle at all?
Malcolm in the Middle is one of those shows where I know I've seen every episode. But I don't know if I could tell you much of anything. I mean, what I remember of Hal was he was a dedicated father. He was very eccentric and very odd and kooky, but I think if I can remember, he mostly loved his kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a mom-dominated house, right? He was sort of the show was Jane Kazermack or whatever. What was her name? Lois also? I don't remember her. And she really was sort of laid down the law and ran that house. And he was along for the ride and was,
Hal was always doing odd things to make money, quick schemes and stuff like that. So from what I remember, he mostly had a good relationship with his kids.
Yeah.
Spell, what about you?
He had some horrible kids, and so that's the thing. Like his kids were bad. He's like, there's no such thing as a bad child. No, they are, and they're all in that household. And so if you want to look at how the kids turned out, that's not great for Hal. But I would look no further than Walter White's children and say, well, the bar is pretty damn low because Walter White's kids didn't like them either. Sorry.
Yeah, but they weren't bad.
Well, they weren't
kids.
terrible.
I don't know. Me and
Walt Jr.
But he had Walt Jr. and the little baby, right?
Me and Walt Jr. were not. The baby is the upswing. Walt Jr. and I have some issues.
Why? What's your issue with Walt Jr.?
What did Walt Jr. do to you? How did Walt Jr. hurt you?
It's just like that mouthy teenager thing that he was doing. It's just like, dear God, you see your dad selling drugs. Stop it. Your mom's having a hard time. She's raising a kid alone. She's cheating on your dad. Stop it. We got things going on, Walt Jr. Yeah. Everything's not about you. So, aside from that, I think he's fine.
Listeners pitched reasons, Rob, why each dad should advance. So for Walter White, the listener says, although he lied to his son and kidnapped his daughter, his scam in the series finale was to set up a trust fund for Walt Jr., which shows that he cares deeply about leaving something behind for his kids.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
So Walter White, at least the inception of the show, and the reason why he did what he did was that he wanted to provide for his family. I mean, he got a diagnosis that he was basically he had terminal lung cancer. And so he went to go ahead and try this scheme to make money for his family. Now, along the way, his ego and his hubris of hey, this is what I was put on this earth to do. That this is actually my thing. I sort of diverted him from his original mission, and it turned out that he had already made more than enough money for his family, but he kept going because he couldn't stop feeding his ego. So I think that got in the way. But you could certainly argue that for a guy who's trying to do a get-rich-quick scheme versus a guy who actually pulled off the get-rich-quick scheme for his family, I don't know.
No,
he had good intentions at first.
No, this is a landslide victory for Hal for me, and it's not even close. Walter White put his whole family at jeopardy for several seasons after not needing the money anymore. I'm talking about completely kidnapped the daughter, like they said, but completely just put his whole life at jeopardy. Everything he did, he never stopped. He never started thinking about those kids after maybe season 2. Like, what kids? He didn't even care that he had these children. He wasn't paying attention. He wasn't a present father. He spent almost the entire series lying to them, like every episode. The only thing you have against Hal is that he was nice to his kids when, he probably should have been a bit meaner. Like, Hal was super agreeable all the time. Like, I mean, you could pretty much, almost a pushover in a lot of ways, but his kids were so bad that anybody else would have just Walter Whited. They would have just took off and started become a drug kingpin. But Hal stayed there, and his wife was like the bad cop of the family. Hal was the good one. I don't see any problems with Hal as a parent. Walter
I think
White
if Hal had left
the
money. Show, nothing would have happened. The show and the family, you know what I mean? He was just there.
No, all the kids would have moved out. All the kids would have moved out. Them kids cannot live there with that mom at the same time without somebody like Hal kind of keeping people at bay because
so he's the
calming
peacekeeper.
Yeah, and a lot of what I remember from Malcolm in the Middle was the kids like scamming their dad to get something that they wanted. So I mean, in terms of like how good is his parenting, probably not great, but in terms of against Walter White, like I think it's a landslide for Hal there.
Yeah. Walter White out here murdering people.
I'm still voting for Walter White. Is everyone else voting for Hal from Malcolm in the Middle?
I'm Hal. I'm a Hal. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and this will go up against Rob's write-in, which we'll do soon, versus Red Foreman from That 70s Show, who got a lot of votes also to be in the
and from That 90s Show that Chappelle and I recently covered on Nothing But Netflix.
The only of those 2 shows I've seen.
All right, so speaking from characters who were on the show and then did reprise their character on Netflix show, we have Danny Tanner from Full House. Going up against Tim the Toolman Taylor from Home Improvement.
Okay, can you give us? I liked how you gave us what the listener who submitted them, like their nomination speech. Can you give that to us?
Yes. So Danny Tanner, he's a single father raising 3 daughters. But
is he a single father?
For Danny Tanner?
I would ask: is Danny Tanner a single father?
Are you single if you're a widow? Is that the question?
Are you single?
No, I mean, he had 2 other dads. He had 2 other dads to help him. He's not technically single.
He had roommates. Yeah,
roommates and their significant others. Like there was a billion people in that household.
But are they paying rent? Is anyone paying? Is anyone helping with the mortgage?
The rent was babysitting.
Like, is anybody helping?
Like they paid the rent by babysitting those 3 kids.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the equity in that home that probably went like 30x from the period of like from Full House to Fuller House. So I think he was fine.
Yeah. Well, he's maybe house poor. Yeah. And another dad with 3 kids, all sons, Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Yeah, but did you give us what the listener said?
No. So some of the people, only the first 2 spots, everyone's first 2 spots. Were pitches for the people, and nobody really pitched Tim the Toolman Taylor why he should be in the 3. He got sort of like secondary votes, but I mean, I don't know. Did you guys watch Home Improvement? But I watched pretty much every episode when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and he definitely liked his kids. He cared a lot about his kids. He was very attached to a job. He cared a lot about his job, and he was always like accidentally injuring himself for other people. But I do think he was like a good dad ultimately. He gets very sad when his kid has the cancer scare in that episode.
Yeah. I don't think that Tim the Toolman Taylor is a bad dad, especially also if you factor in that he actually does a lot of work around his house, which I do think that is part of the job requirement of like doing some necessary fix-ups around your house. But Danny Tanner, I think, is probably a 1 seed in this tournament.
Yeah, when I think about Tim, no moments stand out for me, but I can remember many Danny Tanner like heart to hearts with all his kids, because I mean he was the father of he was a widowed father, so he was in charge of a lot of the child rearing, although he did have Danny and Jesse, but he did a lot of the
Joey and Jesse.
Sorry, he did a lot of the life wisdom talking to all his kids. Tim had his wife to help out, so I think I would probably give it to Danny here if I was choosing this one.
Yeah, and, I hate to be that guy all the time, but Tim, man, this man was the tool man, but he was a hazard. Like he was a hazard to all his kids' health. Like the TV exploded. Why? Because Tim tried to fix it. What if your child was right there? Like these kids are in danger. I'm sorry, someone has to advocate for the children. Tim, if we have to nitpick here, because he seems like a decent father, but he's a horrible repairman, and this is all just to feed his ego. He's got to go. I think we have to put Danny up. And there's going to be very few negative things you can say about Danny. Tim would have been fine in probably another bracket, but I have to hold it against him that his kids' lives were in danger at all times.
It feels like if Tim was a single father, he'd come home and like his children would never have been fed. Like, oh yeah, I've got to feed the kids. Like Danny is all about his kids and all about like taking care of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of kids do like Buzz Lightyear. There might be some benefit.
A boost for that?
Yeah, I think he probably gets a boost, but I don't think it's enough of a boost to like pass Danny Tanner.
Yeah, and then wasn't he in the war at home as well? Yeah, we don't need that. Just saying.
Yeah, he was also last man standing, which was a very like toxic masculinity, macho man type of character in that one.
I mean, there's a little bit of that in Home Improvement. Also,
yeah, there's. I think he may have taught his kids some bad life lessons along the way. Yeah. If we continued the story, so I think for that reason, I would give it to Danny. Danny led with more heart. Tim.
All right, so it sounds like a clean sweep for Danny Tanner.
Also Tim the Tool Man. I think that if he had, basically you have Danny Tanner, all daughters, Tim the Tool Man, all sons. I think that if Tim the Tool Man had even one daughter, I think that she would have been totally screwed up.
Yeah, that would have been a problem.
Yes. And when they were writing the character, when they were writing the character, they literally wrote that into the character. Like and this man can be nowhere near young women. Like
he has never met a woman other than his wife.
He has never, because he does not know how to act.
Yeah.
His neighbor
he does not know how to act based on some recent news stories.
Yeah, we know Tim the Tool Man would be canceled today if he was a real person.
Yes.
You can't say that about Danny.
No.
Yes. Okay. Now, next matchup is Tony Soprano from The Sopranos against Jack Bauer of 24. Chester's explanation for this matchup is they kill a lot of people, but we root for them anyway.
We're either
but Jack kills terrorists.
Yeah.
That
is true. Okay.
I've been watching The Sopranos, Rob, as you know.
Yes.
I had a thought this week watching. I was a teacher, right?
Yep.
AJ Soprano gets like C's in every class. If Tony Soprano's kid was in my class, I would be the A train. It would be A plus, extra credit here. I don't want any of that smoke from Tony Soprano. I don't ever want to like have to deal with a meeting with the principal or whatever. I don't want him to know my name. I'm just giving them A's. Meanwhile, the teachers are all giving AJ C's. One of the teachers, Mr. Wiggler, is sleeping with Carmela. What's going on?
One of the teachers is sleeping with Carmela.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. What is that? Very late in the game?
Yeah, season 5. When they're divorced.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alerts.
I don't know. Does I think that he's sort of like waste management. I don't know. Is it that well known that Tony Soprano is actually like a connected guy in the school?
Yes. In the show, every single person basically knows who he is. Yeah. Everyone knows who he is. I don't know. It just struck me as something like if there was a parent who was annoying, I would give their kid a better grade just to never speak to them. Forget about a guy who,
forget about it.
Tony Soprano was a serial killer. He just if somebody is mean to one of these people, they just kill them, or at least sends them to the hospital all the time. Someone makes a joke he doesn't like, boom, Tony's beating up this guy left and right at the Bada Bing. So anyway, but that's not his parenting. In terms of his parenting, Meadow, the guy's really 1 for 2, right? Meadow's in the Ivy League, nice girl, very smart. AJ is like a pathetic version of Tony. He's like one of the biggest losers ever. So if we're giving him parenting points,
AJ should be in the worst sons bracket. I don't know if we ever want to do that maybe next year, but I guess it sort of comes down to kind of have like a good guy with a gun or versus a bad guy with a gun here with Jack Bauer versus Tony Soprano.
So I have to kind of bow out of the Tony Soprano conversation because I know I'll be vilified for this, but I've never seen The Sopranos. Jack Bauer himself, if we think about how involved the kid was in his life, I think after the second season, we may not see his daughter again until
I think it's actually after the third season. I think the third
contract thing, though.
The third season, she becomes like the romantic interest of his partner. I think his name was Chase.
Is that Freddie Prinze Jr.? I think.
Yeah.
Played him. And I do think in one of the early seasons, part of it had to do with him saving her. But for a lot of her seasons, she was in danger and he was off saving the world, not really paying attention to her. So we might have to put that into consideration as well.
Yeah. Are you a good dad if your family is constantly being taken hostage to get at you. Is that a
Right.
reflection on your dad prowess?
It is. It very much
My
is.
family has never been captured.
Great dad. Great dad.
I have always
Yeah,
said Rob is
on
one of
wood.
the GOAT dads.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not very familiar with either of these two individuals in their shows. I've seen neither of these shows. Yeah, don't shoot. But I'd have to say that if your family is not in danger, that's going to be a plus in the win column for me. So
Mhm.
I
But
don't
are
know
both
who's-
families in danger here?
I don't know who.
So-
You tell me.
Yeah, I would say that Akiva through how many seasons of the Sopranos, other than Meadow parallel parking the car in the finale, like
Mhm.
I kind of feel like that the Sopranos family is almost never like in physical danger. Like almost
No.
that it's almost like
They're not.
you know, protect, you know, the best defense is a good offense, I think, for the Sopranos family. Not one person ever tries to harm Tony by capturing his kids.
Kids
or
are off limits.
Carmela.
Tony also doesn't kill other people's
Yeah.
kids. You know?
I think that's
Where-
a plus for Tony, though.
Yeah, that's a
definitely
plus for Tony. Whereas people are constantly trying to kidnap and like ultimately kill loved ones from Jack Bauer's family.
His wife
Mhm.
dies in the show. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Because of his job.
Well,
Mhm.
okay. So what happens if Jack Bauer's child brings home a black guy?
Wow. I'm not sure that Jack would
Fair
care.
question.
I don't think Jack would
Okay.
care.
Next question. What
Mhm.
happens when Tony Soprano's child brings home a black guy?
His panic attack.
Okay, but I'm just
Mhm.
okay. I'm leaning toward Jack here. I've never seen either show. That's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I think Jack
Fair
has
enough.
put his life on the line for his
Shout out Noah
daughter.
Tenenbaum.
Mm-hmm.
Jack has proven and put his life on the line for his daughter in his show. I can say that, so I
Mhm.
can give that to Jack. Apparently, Tony has never. We have never had to have that situation for Tony in The Sopranos, according to you guys.
Mhm.
So, I think I would give it to Jack because I think Tony's occupation
Yeah.
would more put his family in life in the line of danger. So I think I'll give it to Jack.
I would give it to Tony Soprano. That Jack Bauer is like basically like an absentee dad.
He is an
I
absentee
mean,
father.
Yeah, that's true.
Tony
he
has Sunday
is-
dinner with his kids every Sunday.
Isn't
Like-
that how the show ends with them all having dinner and then potentially?
Well, yeah,
being
but that
dead?
is spoiler. But yeah, that is that's at a restaurant. Yes, but they do have like
yes, and there is
and
basically
dinner.
spoiler alert for The Sopranos, like a read of the finale that Tony is actually executed in front of his family at the diner. You could definitely have that interpretation of the Sopranos finale, which would not be great, but since that did not happen on screen, I don't think
Not
that's canon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
the
so
racism is canon, Rob. I have to leave it to Jack on this.
yeah, but you know, the family that of what Noah in that episode, they get the last
Yeah.
laugh on The Sopranos in that episode.
I will say-
basically that he dumps Meadow because her family isn't rich enough for that this-
Noah, that was your deal breaker, Noah. Okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's okay.
That
Extra
basically
racism.
the
Okay.
Noah is
Sopranos-
awful. Honestly,
Yeah.
Noah's awful.
Yeah, it's
the
No,
Sopranos
no
end up
worries.
being like his family is like, you know, hey, the Sopranos, they're like low class trash. Like we don't associate
Mhm.
with them.
Yeah.
So basically he dumps Meadow at the end of all of that, kind of, you know, a twist ending.
Yeah.
And so but I think that Tony, like his heart is in the right place. Like he is like above all else, you know, about family.
And how do you know? I mean, are Jack Bauer's politics any better? We don't know. You know, is it like?
I
is
mean, I
Jack
think
Bauer
that
not.
Jack Bauer, I think, is definitely.
I
You
think
know,
Jack
like,
hates the
I don't
Russians. Jack hates the Russians, the Chinese. Those are the people
Who
that
do
have,
you think-
that have
who do you
captured
think
him.
Jack Bauer voted for. Let's be honest. In 2016.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's definitely a fan of imperialism. Honestly, I'm gonna bow out of this one. I've seen neither show. I'll let y'all take the helm on this one.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Tony Soprano cares much more about his family and is like a much more like present thought for him than Jack Bauer. He doesn't think about his family until they get captured.
Yeah, and I haven't.
Jason, who are you voting for?
I haven't seen Sopranos, so I might be biased, but I'm gonna go Jack Bauer.
Kiva, you're the tiebreaker.
Oh man, I do think Jack Bauer's a terrible dad. Here's the thing: the winner of this faces Danny Tanner, so they're not going any
Yeah, they're
further.
out.
Oh, they're not going. They're not
Yeah.
going past that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Tony loves his kids. I agree. He's a much worse person than I remembered. Honestly, watching the show, in my head, it's like, he kills people. It's like he says some really heinous things. I think he likes his kids more, unfortunately. But ultimately, like, I don't know. I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna go with Jack Bauer for one reason. Jack Bauer's kid was fine. AJ Soprano is the biggest loser of anybody's kids on this whole list. AJ Soprano is such a demerit against Tony. They should.
So Tony Soprano lost to Jack Bauer.
Wow,
It sounds like it.
upset.
Yeah,
baby.
but it doesn't matter. Danny Tanner we're putting in the Sweet 16.
Well, it does matter, doesn't it?
If they're gonna lose against Danny.
The point is that they were cannon fodder for the next round.
So Jack Bauer moves on.
Rob is
Fine.
incensed.
I'm going with Tony Soprano. Fine, I'll go with Tony Soprano. But the point is that he's already officially lost to Danny Tanner. Okay, let's go.
I'm just saying the whole show of The Sopranos is about him trying to manage.
Tony won. Let it go.
No, well, it's just like, what are we even doing if we're just like, okay, whatever.
But AJ, you don't think we were just talking about kids, Rob? You don't think AJ is the biggest loser of any of these people's kids? AJ's a bigger loser than like Meg Griffin.
Oh my
God! You know,
wow.
But to say
fired
that
at
to blame that at the foot of the parent of
if
like
he
how
was
the
home,
kid turns
paying
out,
attention to his dad, paying attention to his kid. You don't think so?
I don't necessarily know that. Because like I think sometimes the kid is going to turn is troubled. What it doesn't really matter.
He really put in his best
have a
effort,
mom.
Tony, with AJ. Do you think he's like taking him to sporting events and
look?
like,
I think he tried.
He doesn't even want to get him in the
best.
business. He's not even bringing him into the family business. He
doesn't want to. That's a big deal for him. You think that he would be better served by being in the mafia? AJ Soprano.
The truth is, Tony really loves Christopher Moltisanti more than his kids, I think, during a lot of the show. He really views Christopher as his son also.
Is he a good parent to Christopher?
Maybe not so much at the end, but
Look, either one is fine.
Disappointed by Christopher. I mean, he's like wants to be like a mentor to him, but Christopher has his own
he says a bunch of times,
issues.
"You're like my son."
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Whoever y'all want goes through.
We went with Tony. And Mike. The next matchup is a pair of Mikes.
Mike Bloom.
Well, Mike Bloom, one of the great dads, but Mike Brady versus Michael Bluth. The Brady Bunch for the Arrested Development. They're both Mikes in real estate, says Esther. Do we have any big Arrested Development fans on the panel here?
Not huge.
Remind me, Michael Bluth is Jason Bateman.
Yes, Jason Bateman. Against Mike Brady.
The whole Cesternino division of the bracket.
All of her face.
I think this is a blowout for Mike Brady. I don't think it's even close in my mind. I remember many parenting less from Mike Bluth, but if you think about Mike Brady, who took it, for me, it's Mike Brady all the way, no question.
Both are widows, correct?
Yes.
Do we know what happened to? Yeah, I think so. I think she's a widow.
Yeah. Okay. And so, Mike Brady, both, he was a famous architect. I don't think he ever like lost his temper once.
Well, here's the thing about the 70s sitcom dads. They're always going to win because they never had any issue because that was the show of the time. Like, nice dad, always provided for his family, and we put him up against these other shows, these prestige shows where their dads are killing people. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to beat a Mike Brady and a Danny Tanner when they're going up against Walter White. And
right, some of these characters, Chappelle, are their main thing is that they're a dad. Versus some of them, it's like ancillary that they were like maybe an important character, or they were more of a husband or a business person. But Mike Brady, like, what was his job? I don't know. He was a dad.
He's an architect. Then was a dad. Yeah.
But I don't want to undersell Michael Bluth here. Akiva, did the person who nominated him make the case for Michael Bluth?
Yes, Michael has a large amount of patience for his slew of dysfunctional family members. Admittedly, he's not overly successful in keeping his siblings and parents from various self-generated pitfalls, and he often gets frustrated at times, and he can't remember his son's girlfriend's name. But The fact that he keeps trying to save the Bluth company despite his selfish and company family members is something.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Bluth does not have a lot of negatives. I kind of feel like that against a lot of the other people in this bracket. I think that he is actually like a very good dad. I mean, he just has a very eccentric family and a very, wild family business that he's being thrust into. But I think that he is a very good dad to George Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
this
was
is a hard
about to
matchup.
ask.
I think they're both good dads.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what has his impact been on George Michael? We've been using the kids, and again, if you're listening to this, it's not that we're saying that all kids turn out a certain way because of how they were parented. All we're saying is we only have a limited amount of material here,
Yes.
so we have to bring in everything. So what is George Michael like? Is he a loser like AJ, or is he more like a shining star like Lisa Simpson?
Isn't George Michael kind of like the quintessential loser kid? Like, if I remember correctly.
I think so. That's how I remember it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily the most fair criteria to judge them by, like how well like socially adjusted the kids are. I understand what you're saying, but we don't have a lot to go off of.
Yeah.
But like, do we feel like that Michael Bluth's idiosyncrasies caused this in George Michael? I don't know necessarily, but I don't see how he can pass Mike Brady.
Yeah.
Who has
Akiva's
almost
point-
no negative traits.
Right. Akiva's point about some of these parents being legit being parents being their number one criteria or their number one personality trait. Mike Brady is who you think of. Like, this is the story of a man with 3 kids and a woman with 3 kids. They start with that. They're not like, here's a story of an architect. Like it's
Exactly.
We come into him being a great dad. Like, it's
They
like
do kind of come in like, this is the story of like they do have like a whole like Ron Howard voiceover.
That's true.
yeah.
Like, let you know that this is about parenting. And so Mike Brady is going to be hard to beat. I would love to see the Mike Brady versus Danny Tanner if it ever comes up.
Yeah. Now, I mean, if Brady Bunch was like a prestige TV show in 2023, and we find out that Mike Brady like poisoned his first wife, that's how she died, and Mike Brady's like, you're cheating on Carol.
That's why they sleep in separate beds.
Yeah, exactly. If that's how
do
we
they
found
sleep
out
in
things.
separate beds, Mike? And
Not them. No,
I think Akiva, I was going to ask you. I think that they're one of the first people that are sharing a bed, but I know you have argued that a man and a woman should sleep in separate beds.
Well, I didn't say I do, but I see the logic.
Yeah,
the logic behind it.
They did. They had a little twin size bed they shared. A little, like, what was it? A double bed, I think it was. They were really close. Mike and wife Carol.
All right,
whenever we saw them on TV, they left room for God, and all those bed scenes, there was a good distance between them.
All right, Mike Brady advances. The next matchup, this is an interesting one from Chester. We have George Jefferson versus Logan Roy, and he says 2 successful Upper East Side businessmen.
Now, the Jeffersons had children.
Lionel, you don't
Lionel.
I don't remember. I don't. I remember George and Weezy. I don't remember.
We're about to take your black card, Ralph.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm happy to hear I was in consideration for one.
You were on the bubble, but now.
Here's the pitch for Logan Roy. The most vile and awful TV dads are the most memorable and iconic because they stand out from the good dads who are usually cheesy and cliche, and they're also often sitcom fodder. My noms feature anti-hero to outright villainous father figures from acclaimed dramas, and Logan Roy is my favorite because he's so despicable and terrible to his children while at the same time being a complex character with a lot of nuance. You love to hate him.
So I have to bow out from the Succession talk, unfortunately.
Same.
For what I remember of George Jefferson, there were storylines involving Lionel. I think he might have been upset that Lionel dated a white girl.
Yes,
but so I mean, if we're doing one on Chappelle's ratings, George might lose this. So you guys have to tell me about Logan Roy.
Well, were her vibes good in the long run or no? Because that really saved Tony.
From what I can remember, she was fine. It was years ago that I saw that, but yeah. But George, the show wasn't about George being a parent, unfortunately. And I think from what I know of Succession, the big idea of the show was how Logan Roy is as a father. So you guys have to tell me about Logan Roy as a dad.
Yeah, Logan Roy as a dad is pretty despicable. Has almost no good qualities. other than you could say that he is a provider for his family. He has Connor Roy, who is a child from a first marriage, kind of doesn't even like acknowledge him
Yeah,
as
not a big
actually
fan.
being like canon as one of the kids. He's sort of like, okay, just basically like a kid adjacent because he's from his first marriage. And then all three of the adult Roy children have like significant issues and like major character flaws.
But has he taught them how to be successful?
No.
No,
No?
he just
Oh,
has
wow,
enough money
okay.
that no, they're idiots.
They're just
He
able
has
to
enough
float their
money where
terrible
they can sort of
lifestyles.
fail. They can sort of fail upward a little bit, but
Okay.
no,
Mhm.
he's awful.
They're all Nepo babies.
Yeah, they're
I
Nepo
thought big
babies.
part of
He
that
is
show was him teaching them how to take over the business or something. Is that
No,
what it was
I
no,
mean the whole show is about that they're ready to take over the business, and he's like, no.
But they will
it's still
burn. They will
me.
burn it to the ground when they take
F
it over.
off.
Basically.
Yeah.
yeah, no, he is. Yeah, he is like Lucy with the football to them.
Yes.
They
yes.
basically
But
they want him to
they're all
die.
like, hey,
Well-
I'm ready. I'm ready to run the show now. He's like, no, you'll
sounds
never be
like-
ready.
Sounds like George has his own lockdown.
Yeah.
George does, but he is not without reproach. He basically let what was it? Was Archie Bunker raise Lionel throughout all of the family. Like we were talking about the Jeffersons, but let's be very clear. Lionel did
Mhm.
not start on the Jeffersons. He was like Archie's other like black kid, and Archie was a racist. And
That's not how I remember things, Chappelle.
oh,
That's
him
not how I
and,
remember that show.
him and Archie were way too close for somebody who was openly racist. George should have stepped in. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's
But
not
George
how I
still
remember
wins.
it. But you know, if you say so.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, keep your kid away from racists. That's all I'm
Okay.
saying.
Akiva, did anybody give the nomination speech for George Jefferson as a dad?
No, we don't really have an impassioned nomination speech for George Jefferson. A lot of people were like, LOL, Logan Roy is rich and whatever, but I just think this is an
but
easy one
George
for me.
Jefferson is not doing too bad.
No, he's doing but
He
they
moved
didn't
up
know
to
the
the
He
east
matchup.
finally
side.
has a piece of the pie.
They didn't know the
Yeah.
matchup. Yeah.
It took a while, but he got some. He got some pie.
I do like
yes.
I like the matchup from Chester. I think
It's a
some
funny
creativity
matchup.
there.
It really
It's
is.
Yes.
I think George
Mhm.
wins though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard. Logan Roy, I mean, Logan, you could argue is the best, is like the most likable person in the family, right?
No.
He's more likable than his kids. Who do you
No,
like
he's
more,
not.
other than cousin Greg? Who do you like more in that family?
Rob hates cousin Greg.
Shiv, Roman, Kendall, Connor.
These
like,
are monsters. You
these
just
are made-up
named
names.
4 monsters.
Logan Roy is the monster.
No, he just did a bad job raising his kids.
This guy
Mhm.
must suck because
His
Rob
wife
is
sucks,
caping.
too.
Rob is tearing him down, and he was just caping for Tony Soprano.
I mean, Chappelle, the show is based. Logan Roy is Rupert Murdoch. That's
Yes.
what the show is. Like it's based.
Yes.
It's based off of like. And there's a few different like very wealthy like trillionaire families that like this they take stuff from. But that's what the show is based off of.
Yeah, I had no insight into the show. I do kind of want to watch it now, so you got my attention.
I do think I think we
great
have to do like
show.
a new show where Chappelle and Jason, who have seen a lot of TV shows, maybe a few of these
we like the
TV shows
throwbacks,
they have
Akiva.
not
We're not
watched.
big. We're not big on current TV. We like the
Yeah,
throwbacks.
in the last 10 years, I don't know what it is, but you asked me about Al Bundy, and I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so easy win for George Jefferson. We got a fun matchup coming up now. From Chester, it's Frank Costanza, and Chester, by the way, did not pick the people in the bracket. He just set the matchups. So don't get mad at him if you don't like him. Frank Costanza from Seinfeld versus Frank Gallagher from Shameless. Chester says Franks with anger issues who don't really have a job.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I go first? Can I please step out
Please.
here? Because y'all know I've only seen 2 episodes of Seinfeld. I don't know this man. I might have seen him in one of those episodes. I don't remember. But Frank Gallagher is one of the worst people, not only parents, but worst people that have ever existed on any television screen ever. Whatever you just said about Logan Roy, Frank Gallagher is that times 10. He loses his bracket every time. Find him with Randy Marsh and Peter Griffin down in hell because this guy sucks.
You know,
Frank would
it's-
lose to Peter Griffin hands down, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
You know, Frank Gallagher, right? That's his name, Frank Gallagher.
Yeah.
And Logan Roy are sort of like the like at the opposite ends of the spectrum, like where Frank Gallagher is the you know patriarch of this family that has nothing, as opposed to Logan Roy, who's the patriarch of like one of the like wealthiest families like in the known world.
Frank Gallagher would.
Both have really screwed up their kids.
Yeah, Frank Gallagher would and has tried to sell one of his kids before. So, that should tell you something.
Logan Roy would do the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
But Frank has literally tried.
Yeah, I would like to hear more information about Frank Costanza, but when I tell you I am immovable in this, I hate Frank
I don't
Gallagher
think that there's any argument to say like there's any redeeming qualities where I think that Frank Costanza has while he probably like did a number on George Costanza, like at least like provided a home for him, didn't try to sell him.
Yeah, because even if you look at the kids, I mean, Frank had a lot of them, and I mean, you want to talk about some screwed up family members. I mean, Frank did a number on each of them, even though he was somehow absent from all their lives. He was just there present enough to traumatize each of them separately.
He would literally come in, traumatize them, and leave.
Yeah,
and leave. And there are people who will try to like play devil's advocate for Frank Gallagher. Save it. Yeah, save it.
Frank Costanza did not have a alcohol abuse issue.
And you know, of course, that is addiction is an illness, and so I am not tallying that into my Frank Gallagher hate. But the fact that he tried to sell his child, amongst other things, like he literally robs his kids who are nickeling and diming their way to school lunches and paying all the bills, and he's stealing from them. I cannot do it.
Okay. Frank Costanza, it is. Serenity now.
Yeah, this is pretty easy. Frank Costanza, we haven't really talked about this. Would you want him to be your dad? We can get into that with the.
Why is Frank Gallagher even in the best dads bracket? Yeah,
listen, you got to ask the RAANAP faithful.
I'm asking you who has the list.
Yeah, he got recommended by a lot of people. Let's we can
a
hear
lot of people.
Yeah, let's hear what someone has to say. This dad of 6 uses his children to cheat the welfare system and con sympathetic people out of money while leaving the primary child care to his oldest daughter, who is still a child herself. Now, I don't know why that.
Did they know what the bracket was? Did they know what they were nominating for?
Maybe we did discuss worse on the podcast last week. Maybe they thought, hey, let's just. I think people nominated the people from the shows they like. Honestly,
sounds about right.
Yeah,
but I think this is a pretty easy. Yeah, somebody said the best worst dad in the bracket. Okay.
Yeah, Frank is just like he's a sociopath, so you really can't put too much. Like you cannot give him too much responsibility, right? Like he should not be a dad. So like once you made him a dad, everything after that was going to be a problem. And so it's kind of like we should have never had Frank Gallagher the father, and because we have it, it's almost unfair to be holding him to fatherly standards. It's like me, I don't have any kids. You don't like, oh, how bad the dad Chappelle is. I'm not. And Frank Gallagher should be over here with us, the father, the sonless.
Okay,
who do you have next?
The next matchup is Chappelle's Ride-In. We'll get to that in about 5 minutes. Versus Bob from Bob's Burgers, Bob Belcher. So we'll hold that thought for a second.
Chappelle, you lose.
I must say, I can't put anybody up against Bob. You can love him.
Okay. Well, all right. Next, the last 3 matchups that we know, both of the contestants. This is the final animated characters. This is Papa Smurf from the Smurfs. Got nominated a lot. Not sure why. Versus Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Now, are either of these actual dads?
No.
I don't think that either of these are the fathers of
They're adoptive fathers.
I looked into this.
Yes. Okay. Look into it.
Okay. Papa Smurf, they say is 546 years old.
Okay.
And I think he has to be a dad.
Smurfette was the only girl Smurf. Like, how do the Smurfs like
procreate?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they lay eggs? I feel like they lay.
His name is Papa
eggs.
in the thing.
So within the Smurf village, this is from the Healthy Journal. Is Papa Smurf their dad? Within the Smurf village, Papa Smurf is considered the father figure of every Smurf due to his relationship role. However, younger Smurfs are set to later become fathers as the series progresses. Gargamel considers himself the father of Smurfette because he is her original creator. So I don't know. That's a little bit.
Did
do
you say
not
the
think.
Smurfs were becoming fathers later in the series?
I guess I don't know how this works. I
don't remember
do not
that.
think Papa Smurf is actually the biological father of that.
But is
It's
he?
the
I mean,
adoptive
he's a-
dad's bracket.
He
It's
is
the
a
adoptive
father
dad's bracket.
figure,
I
He's
hear
the
you.
dad that stepped
But-
up.
but Splinter is the sensei of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Can I read you
He's
this Splinter
definitely
pitch, Rob?
not their dad.
But he's their father figure. He
He
takes
raised
Can I
care of
read you
them.
the Splinter
Robert.
pitch?
Yes.
Without Splinter, this is from Jordan Smith. Without Splinter, there is no best TV theme song bracket winner. He says Splinter's the best dad because he didn't have to be one, but he stepped up, like Chappelle said, and raised the Mutant Ninja Turtles to become world-saving heroes despite being of a different species entirely. You don't need to be a biological father to be a dad. I did some research. He is generally considered their dad.
What was the
Rob,
research you did?
Rob,
What was the
so-
research? I want to hear what was the research
I
you did,
googled,
Akiva?
and I think even on Wikipedia, like there's a bunch of places that say he is their father.
Rob, Splinter didn't run a dojo, and like the
Mhm.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles parents brought them there for
Getting
karate
dropped
lessons.
off at
He
school.
he raised these kids from Little Turtles. Like he could have let Little Turtles run
Mhm.
down the sewer river, but he picked them
Yeah.
up and he took
Yeah.
care of them. He is their father.
Mhm.
He is. And a great father he is. Splinter,
Yeah.
you know, that's a good guy right there. He's a rat.
Splinter's the teacher and adopted half father of the Ninja Turtles. I don't know what
Mhm.
Half
father
father
is.
and adopted. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's,
I don't know what a
there's
half-father
some
is.
other intricacies.
Anyway,
in there.
I don't think
Yes.
Papa Smurf's
Is-
the dad, so I think Splinter has to win here. But I do think he is their dad.
Well,
Yeah.
I think both are legit like dad father figures. I think Papa
Mhm.
Smurf runs the village and like, you know,
Mhm.
makes sure they're all taken care of. I think if we're talking quantity over quality, I think
Papa
Papa
Smurf's got
Smurf
it.
gets it. Yeah. Like I am
Mhm.
going to vote for Splinter myself just because of my love of the property and how well he did. And he taught his kids how to save the world. Papa Smurf
Mhm.
just teaching his kids how to run a society, I guess.
Also, we don't have any like knowledge that Papa Smurfs actually raised the Smurfs. He just seems to
True.
be governing the grown-up Smurfs as they are
Mhm.
now.
That's true,
right?
yeah.
So we know Splinter found these turtles and raised them to be
Adopted them. Yeah.
he adopted
Is
them.
there ever a lady Splinter? Does he have a girlfriend?
No.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, unless there's some weird iteration I haven't seen.
That
which
didn't come
is
up in your
possible.
research, Akiva.
He's like Michael Booth. He only had sex 4 times. Like he doesn't have a lot of.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. So Splinter advances here. Shout out Papa Smurf.
Shout out.
Okay. Next matchup. This is the SoCal Lawyers matchup from Chester. Sandy Cohn from the OC versus Phil Banks from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Get out of here.
Both took in troubled teens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is a good matchup. This is
Yeah.
like
It is.
I like this.
So can you give the pitch from the listeners, Akiva?
Yes. Okay, Sandy Cohn got a ton of votes, honestly. I watched the beginning of the OC, I didn't make it the whole way through. Here's the elevator pitch. He's the perfect Jewish father.
Great theme song though. One of the greatest.
This is a great theme song region. We have the OC against Fresh Prince. The perfect Jewish father, now truistic public defender, takes in Ryan Atwood, a troubled youth, becomes the legal guardian, despite his wife and numerous others being against it, provides much needed levity and nuance.
Great eyebrows.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no clue who this person is, so I'm just gonna let y'all go with it.
I saw the
was
big
not
like
a
Akiva.
watcher.
Yeah, like Akiva, I saw the beginning of the OC, did not follow through to the end. But I do know that all the kids that Sandy Cohn was in charge of at one point or another got into big trouble. With drugs and alcohol and overdoses and fights. Phil Banks for me takes this all the way. I mean,
Here's the elevator pitch, Jason, for Phil Banks. While he was a good dad to his 4 biological children, it's mostly for his great job as an adoptive father to his nephew Will. Just a brilliant, kind, wonderful guy who also happens to be very funny. P.S. R.I.P. James Avery.
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, what's the case against Phil Banks?
He's the cops. I think Phil Banks here is. I think his con column is very small, but I do think it's just his general disposition. Right, he's a little cranky. He's loud, but that's it. Like he's one of those stern fathers. He's not like a Mike Brady who's gonna throw the football with you. He's more gonna ask you like, have you done your things in school? And he's gonna call your teacher and yell at them for not getting you in line together. But for the most part, yeah. But for the most part, there's a protective dad. That's just like there's like his own category. He's over there with the Sopranos.
He's a disciplinarian father.
Yeah.
Who's going to keep his kids in line, but he has given good heart to hearts to Will. I think that's a big part of the show. So for me, for those reasons, I'm a Phil Banks guy all the way.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Now
Easy one here.
Okay, and this is the canon OG Phil Banks, Chappelle, not
Yes.
the new Peacock Phil Banks.
Good question.
Yeah, shed some light on the new Phil Banks.
Yes.
Chappelle.
As the RAANAP listeners may or may not know, I do host the post-show recap of the Bel Air season 2 recap right now with Puya on post-show recap. So check that out. Subscribe to Bel Air post-show recaps wherever you get your podcast. And so, it's a reimagining of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and it is not played by James Avery. I actually can't think of the dad from Bel Air's name off the top of my head. His real name, the actor. But Uncle Phil is no different. He is Adrian Holmes. So Uncle Phil is no different. He's very much a disciplinarian. He's a little bit more likable, I think, in Bel Air, just because there's a lot more nuance to him. But at the end of the day, he is a protective father. He has Will coming in from Philly during all of his drama. And he has his normal kids at the crib. He still has a Jeffrey and a wife, all that stuff. But he's just a lot more you get a lot more of his protective side. And so I think it's pretty much a 1-for-1. Uncle Phil. The first Uncle Phil is probably a little bit funnier, but this guy, it's the same across the board. Pretty decent dad.
Okay.
Cool. All right, Uncle Phil it is. All right, Chappelle just referred to Uncle Phil as the cops or Sandy Cohn, but
no, they're both really.
I was saying whichever one.
Well, we have a cop versus
Uncle
cop
Phil sends people to prison. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. We have a cop versus cop bracket matchup right now. It is Carl Winslow from Family Matters versus Martin Crane, Frasier's dad on Frasier.
Okay. Is Frasier's dad actually a good dad at all?
Ooh.
Akiva, you love Frasier.
He's raised 2 successful sons.
I guess so.
I'm not a big Martin Frasier guy. I can read you some of the pitches for him. Let me read you Carl Winslow first because I have it right here. He had the patience and tolerance of a saint to put up with Urkel shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Of course.
Yeah, he did lose a kid at some point. And I don't mean hopefully not that they didn't pass, but he literally had more kids when the show started. And one of them disappeared.
Judy was taken by the attic monster.
I mean, they never acknowledged that, but it's a little bit of a demerit.
It was painful. Too painful to mention.
Yeah. Martin Crane, the pitches, he's an underrated TV dad. He's the polar opposite to both of his sons, but clearly so proud of them and always there for them.
I mean, he was always there because he lived with them.
Yeah, it's not flashy.
He has that little dog. Yeah.
Just my gut reaction is Carl Winslow. When you say Carl Winslow, Martin Crane, Carl Winslow for me is the guy.
Who would you rather be your dad? We have, if you're using that as a metric, I think it's easily Carl Winslow here, and I think he does pretty well in a lot of the other matchups too. Martin Crane, I guess he's more of an uncle, a grandpa type to me, maybe because he's older in the show, but I'm not super interested in having him as my dad.
Yeah, I mean, Carl Winslow, I think he wants to do stuff with Eddie. Was that one of the episodes that we watched where he wanted to fix up the old car with Eddie?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lisa,
he's basically a father to Urkel, whose parents don't even talk to him.
Yeah, I mean, he puts up with Urkel. That's he takes Urkel in. If we're talking about dads that take kids in, I think Carl Winslow is definitely in there.
Steve did save his life twice, so Carl owed him. But yes, I think that it's one of those things where Carl's position on the show was to be a dad, and so that's what they gave him, and that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Laura is a Lisa Simpson type. I think he did a good job with Laura, and Eddie's fine. Eddie's not Bart Simpson level, so I think that's an easy win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Runs with a bad crowd. The Waldo Geraldo.
I mean, Waldo Geraldo, he's more of a doofus. He wasn't really. I think Waldo had a cousin or something one episode who was a bad guy, but he's more of a class clown type. Okay, we have the winner of that will play Coach Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights. This is Jason Reed's write-in vote. So Jason, we've mentioned 28 dads. Can you please nominate a dad to face Coach Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights?
Listen,
Reminder,
I'm a big
people
fan.
We haven't done: Ned Stark, Eric Taylor, Bob for Bob's Burgers, and Rob's person is Red Foreman. Those are the 4 remaining dads.
And who am I going up against?
This will be against Coach Taylor from FNL from Friday Night Lights.
Okay. I'm a big fan of single parents. I come from a single parent household myself. And this one, if I think about parents in my younger years that I admired and liked, and it's a little bit of a cheat because most of his compliments come from a movie. I'm going to go with the one and only Goofy.
Goofy.
Oh,
Goofy.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Who's Goofy's
King.
kid?
Goofy's kid is Max. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those that don't know, Goofy and Max's adventures started in the show Goof Troop, part of the ABC Saturday morning lineup. And then their adventures continued in the, one of the most underrated Disney movies ever, a Goofy movie. Also a sequel that we don't talk about. But in a Goofy movie, Goofy takes Max on a trip. Max scams him, makes him go to a Powerline concert. But Goofy goes along with it when he figures out that that's what his son really wants. I think Goofy exemplifies all of what a good dad is. He takes care of his kid. He's a single dad. He busts his butt in the Goof Troop show. He does tons of odd jobs trying to support his kid. I think Goofy is a great dad.
Yeah.
I mean, for a cow, he's at the top of the dad ranking for sure.
Is he a cow?
I thought he was a
dog.
I mean, is Pluto a dog? Because Pluto lives in a doghouse.
Pluto's definitely a dog.
Yes.
So why doesn't Goofy live in a doghouse?
That's a great question.
Well, that's the big question
he's
of
a
the Mickey
cow.
Mouse universe. That
Well,
What
because he's a cow,
animal
that's why.
is Goofy? Yeah.
I've never seen Goofy's udders.
Goofy is a tall anthropomorphic dog.
Anthropomorphic means not dog.
That's what it means.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what an anthropomorphic means. It's not really.
Okay.
It's not really a dog. It's not like a doggish thing type situation,
Yeah. There is debate if he's a dog or a cow.
A dog or cow, Disney is
I'm
one
just
of the
saying.
search terms I got.
Yes.
Just saying.
All right. The voice actor told Yahoo Goofy is not a dog.
See?
Ooh.
Well, you heard it right from his mouth.
Mhm.
From Goofy's mouth to the
But
to
is
the
the voice actor really in charge of that?
Stop that. Stop the shenanigans.
I don't think cows have teeth like Goofy has.
All right. Well, no, stop it. This is not the debate. The debate is not whether or not y'all can tear down this amazing cow dad. It's is he a better dad than his opponent?
Yeah. So
does Akiva want to fight Goofy?
Yeah. Who would win in a fight?
No, Goofy
Akiva
would
or
rock
Goofy?
me.
Yeah.
He'd rock me.
Goofy's a lot taller than you and Kyle Chandler.
He's just got
huge.
reach.
Goofy's got that
Yeah.
reach, buddy.
Yeah.
He can get you.
I've met
It's
him
not a
at
fair
Disney
fight.
World. I don't want to fight him.
I met him too at Disney World. I should have asked him if he was a cow. Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think he's allowed to talk.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Goofy is a loving dad. I think Max is a little embarrassed of his dad, though.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, but that's the hallmark of a good dad that you're embarrassing to your kid.
I guess so.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay. And then against Coach Taylor, boy, I got to be honest. I don't really remember a lot of Coach Taylor parenting his own kids.
Isn't Coach Taylor a better father to his players and his own kid?
Mm-hmm. He has a daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if he would, maybe if he had sons, like as a girl dad, he's no Danny Tanner.
No.
Right.
Mhm.
I feel like I remember him being a good dad. I have to rewatch Friday Night Lights. I have not seen it in a little while, but
Mhm. I feel like I remember him like being mad, like, are you wearing makeup? Like I feel like he was like very, trying to like keep his daughter. He didn't want her like to stretch her wings.
what's the daughter's name?
No clue.
No, cool.
Not a big FNL guy.
Yeah.
Julie and Gracie were his daughters.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, two.
A baby. I think Gracie was a baby, right?
See, we didn't even know that. How can we put him through? We didn't even know how many kids he had.
All right, listen. I mean, Goofy's getting absolutely smashed by Carl Winslow if he advances. I'll be honest.
I don't know about that. No,
Yeah.
That's
I
questionable.
don't know about
Questionable.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going Goofy here. I agree. Eric Taylor, to me, if we could call his players his kids, I think is very devoted to them. But ultimately, like a lot of the dads in this thing, are ultimately care more about their jobs than their children.
Yeah, I think he's a better coach than a dad.
Yeah. Listen, we know as 4 big football fans, a lot of the best coaches. You look at the family tree. It's rough. They're not home ever.
great.
Robert Saleh has 7 kids, Akiva, more
Robert
than
Saleh,
you.
first of all, I thought he had 6. He must have had a kid recently. But
on that Phillip
without
Rivers
naming
movie.
names, there's a few NFL coaches who have had very difficult time with their children. It's hard. Anyway, next up is Rob's write-in. It's Red
Mhm.
Foreman from that 70s show and that 90s show.
Okay.
Against whoever Rob wants. Who did we not mention? And I can give you a list of people who also received votes who didn't.
Okay,
Make the
I have
bracket,
a write-in,
if
but
that'll
I'm
help
not
you.
over the moon for my write-in. So if you want to
Okay.
give me some names to pick
Yes.
from.
Here are some people who did not make it but got some votes. Corey Matthews from Girl Meets World.
Okay.
Or
Alan Matthews should have come over Corey Matthews.
Alan Matthews from Boy Meets World. Sorry.
Was it
Keith
Alan
Mars,
or Corey? Because Corey is
they
a
both
dad in
got
Girl
in.
Meets World.
They both got in. They both got
Okay.
in. Keith Mars, Veronica Mars' dad, who's a big part of the show. Olivia Pope's dad from Scandal. I feel like
Hell
the
no.
No, that's a
person
troll
should
vote.
know your name.
That's a troll
if
vote.
you're- Yeah. Ray Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond. That's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Pearson from This Is Us got a lot of votes.
Yeah.
Hank Hill,
He
Kind of
would've
the
won if
snow.
he was in it.
Right. Yeah.
Jack Shepard's dad, Christian from Lost. Archie Bunker from All in the Family. Bandit
No.
from Bluey. Mr. D from Different Strokes. I think people just like the Different Strokes joke. John Ritter from 8 Simple Rules. They said he died trying to get his family milk.
He did.
Dr. Jason Seaver from Growing Pains.
Yeah.
Cliff Huxtable, George Jetson, and Ned Flanders.
Boy, I feel like that if we're talking about like TV dad, like should Cliff Huxtable be here? Like, can we
Nah, he'd be
separate
no.
the actor
Yeah,
from
well, that was a troll
the
vote to get us
TV
to talk
dad?
about Bill Cosby, but
The art
I
from
think-
the artist.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we were talking about just the TV dad part of him, he would have been here for sure. But
Mhm.
unfortunately,
But aren't we just talking about the TV dad?
Right. We're not like analyzing if James Gandolfini was a great guy,
Yeah.
Which by all
He
accounts
may
he
have
was.
been.
Yeah.
It seems
Well,
like a perfect person.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with it. I'm
I
just saying.
think the level of of crime really taints the
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Takes the look.
Listen, I'm would be a hypocrite on this because I will never listen to Michael Jackson music and would never watch a Kevin Spacey movie and like anything like this. So I've been pretty consistent. Like I'll cancel you, but fully. Listen, we're not, it's a
Except
little
if you're
different here.
an athlete.
Oh, if you're on my if you're on my team, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Football team is 53 players. All 53 need to be an angel? No, absolutely not. Come on.
What if the team owner isn't an angel?
Listen, I've dealt with that many times. It's
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I'm willing to, for sports. I'm willing to look the other way.
Mhm.
There's
fine.
a lot of movies out there. I only have one football team.
Yeah.
I-
Okay. All right. I'll say
first-
yes.
Go ahead.
Shmuel.
If you want, by the way, do you want to put Cliff Huxtable on the bracket?
I think it would be worthwhile to talk it through, but like I understand that it's
No, it's
painful
fair.
for a lot of people.
Listen, it's he had Bill Cosby not ended up being a monster, he would have been one of
He
the
would've
favorites
smashed
to
his-
win
he
the
would've
tournament.
smashed his
Yeah.
bracket.
and I also think that the Cosby Show and Cliff Huxtable as a character, like I think was probably a real thing that inspired like a lot of TV dads moving forward. But I won't make him my write-in pick. I'll go with somebody I think should have been in there. I'm going to go with Dr. Jason Seaver, the patriarch of the Growing Pains family, played by the late, great Alan Thicke.
Yeah, got a bunch of votes, just didn't make it. He was
Works
very
from
close.
home, an inspiration to so many of us.
Mhm.
And, had some, had some kids mixed results on how they turned out, but did take in Leo when he was at his low point,
Mhm.
took him in, gave him a start, and look at him now.
Yeah, and he said,
some people might
"Leo,
consider that a negative. I don't know.
never date anyone above 21." That's my one piece of advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here's the pitch, by the way. Yes, someone agrees with you. He worked from home before it was cool, says Katie.
Mm-hmm.
I-
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
a great
probably
dad.
an actual real good dad because he had a
Yeah.
Nepo baby that turned out to be very successful.
Mhm.
Who
Masked
owes me
Singer
an
star.
album? Yeah,
Yeah.
he does owe me an album. That's true.
But what about Red Foreman? I mean,
He
he's only-
hates
this
his
is a hard
kids.
Well, Red Foreman is the ultimate tough love dad.
I know, but
Like,
he does. He's tough love. He loves his kids. He just does not. He's old school. He'll never say I love you. He doesn't know how to show them, but he does love his kids.
He wants to put a foot in his kid's ass, right?
I mean, but
That's
sometimes
true.
it's
Mary
needed.
Kitty, who's such
He's
a
got
saint.
a bunch of
I
kids
feel
smoking
like
pot in his basement nonstop.
that is,
And he
That's
knows
true.
it. And he's
That's true.
aware.
is that a positive or a negative? They could be out doing other stuff.
I mean, they could be out doing it with random people. You'd rather you do it at home. I'm just saying.
I mean, look what the other thing they do is like they climb some water tower. They could die any second, and they spray paint it or something.
Mhm.
Right?
I mean, he don't know about that. He knows they down
Yeah,
there
that's
smoking
true.
pot, and that is a net positive. Not that they are smoking pot. That's a net. That's a neutral. But that he knows it, and he's keeping them safe from harm.
Cool
down
dad.
there. Cool dad.
You would want that from your dad, Dr. Jason Seaver. If he caught his kid smoking pot in the basement, forget about it. He would unleash.
Oh
hell
my
on
God,
them.
they would be
Mhm.
grounded for years. I
Years.
think
They'd still
I
be
think-
grounded.
Jason Seaver, I think, is that baseline sitcom dad, which we've had a lot of them in the bracket. Which, when I think about it, like I can't like isolate anything extraordinary that Jason Seaver did, but he's just that guy that gives heart to hearts to his kids every episode.
He's
Yeah.
consistent.
Yep. But I think
Who would
that
you rather be your dad?
Jason Seaver.
I mean, Jason Seaver,
Probably
I
has
could
to
get
be.
away.
yeah.
I could probably
Nobody's
get away with a
choosing
lot
with
more
tough
with
love.
Jason Seaver.
I don't even
Yeah,
know what
nobody's
the case
choosing.
is that Red should be better than Jason Seaver.
It's the pot thing.
No,
It
I think
really
you're
is
right.
a
I
little-
think you're right.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
I
right,
don't
Rob.
think that Jason Seaver is going to be a bracket winner, but I
No.
think that he should advance here.
I think
That's a
Jason
solid
Seaver's
guy.
has had more heartwarming moments. He has a heartwarming moment every episode with one of his kids. Red Foreman
Mhm.
probably got like 2 a season that we could say, oh, Red really loves his kids. He's showing his kids a lot of love. Otherwise, it's like take the trash out, or I put my foot up your ass. Like that's mostly what Red did.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it is that old school like brand of parenting where it's like it's not super affectionate from the dad and stuff like that, and so we like the bar is low for the Red types. Like all they have to do is hug their kid twice a season. And you're like, oh, he does care. But then you have someone like Jason who
Mhm.
is just like who is actively there all the time because he lives there, and so like and works there and doesn't leave the
Mhm.
house. But because of that, you see more of the like affection that I think people have come to learn is very healthy, and so I would have to go with Jason
Yeah.
Seaver.
And Kirk Cameron is screwed up, but that's not from the fault of his TV dad.
not
That
Alan's
has
fault.
more to
I don't
say
think so.
about his real parents, who also raised Candace Cameron.
Mm,
Ugh, bunch of winners.
yeah.
Although
Uh,
that could be like a
Hey.
real like on the other side of the bracket.
We're looking at Danny.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So he advances. We have Bob Belcher up against Chappelle's Right. And Chappelle, who do you want to put into the bracket?
Well, I had an idea, and then you said that we might want to have somebody from reality TV. So in my mind, I've been going through my reality TV people, and I wanted to talk about somebody who I believe I believe Rob and I talked about this guy. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, I think. This is Reverend Run from Run's house.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
He is someone who should be more obsessed with his job, but he really spends all his time wrangling his kids and like parenting. And it's like the most wholesome reality show to ever be successful. There's like
Mhm.
almost nothing negative to say about anything that he does at all. And it's heavily
Did he
edited,
block
I'm
you on
sure.
Twitter though, Chappelle?
He blocked me, but people
That's
make
a
mistakes.
positive.
But
That's a
you
positive.
do.
It's
What
a
do you
net
do?
neutral.
I mean-
LL Cool J blocked me. Like, and people just block me. Okay, I don't know what I did. I know I did with the LL, but I just feel like Reverend Run. Okay, that's neither here nor there. He's not my daddy. So I just feel like to his kids, Joseph, Diggy, Angela, they're all Vanessa. They're all super successful. And then there's little JoJo, no, whatever their kids are named, the little one that does.
Mhm.
He's not successful at all, but whatever. All the rest of them are very successful. I don't think there's anything negative to say about Reverend Run as a parent on Run's house.
Okay. And who was Chappelle's Right in going against, Akiva?
Bob Belcher.
Bob's Burgers, a show I have to admit I haven't watched. So
Yeah, I have to
Oh.
abstain. I have not seen Bob's
Whoa.
Burgers either.
Put
I
y'all
love
in
that.
jail. Bob, you
Yeah.
have to watch Bob's Burgers.
It's that
That-
good?
That
It's
black
so
card
good.
is really in jeopardy, Rob. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're about to get it. It's
Yeah.
almost
I
snatched.
didn't even know Bob's Burgers was a black show.
He's
I
it's
didn't-
not.
It's not really, but
Oh.
But you're just like, dear God, Rob, please. Now I can never give you the card. Dear God.
But I mean, look who here has watched the show and who has not. I mean,
right. It's
Yeah.
very telling, Rob. Like, look
I
around.
didn't know there were. Yeah, I thought it was. I looked at the picture. I didn't know.
Sam, if
I
you've
mean-
seen Bob's Burgers, we might need your vote for this round.
Oh, we don't. Look, Bob Belcher. You know how you say like, who would you
Says
want to
no,
be your
so
dad?
it's-
I love Bob Belcher. I do, but he is another one of those dads who sometimes forget that he's a dad in lieu of his business. There's Bob's Burgers. is his baby, as well as his kids. His kids are smart. There is no Meg Griffin of these children. You know, these kids are immaculate. They can do no wrong in my eyes, but they are a little mischievous, if you will. But I don't think that's necessarily Bob's fault. I just think they're got some good genes on them. I don't know what to tell you.
Bob, okay, like you said, sometimes Bob will let the business take over, but by the end of the 22-minute episode, Bob is right back into his kids' lives. Bob is one of the most accepting dads you'll ever see on TV. All his kids are like, you know, very different and very interesting kids, and Bob just goes with the flow, helps them out, loves them, you know, to the nth degree. But Reverend is a tough competitor, I will say.
I picked Reverend for that reason, because I was thinking, when y'all told me Bob was who they were going up against, I was like, who could even compete? Because I love Bob Belcher, you know. And honestly, I would vote for Bob Belcher in this spot regardless. There's no way that Reverend Run is beating him. But I mean, y'all have to go watch it. You have to watch Bob.
Yeah.
Burgers.
Okay. We will watch. We will watch.
Season 3, episode 7.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Let's do it. We'll put it in there.
Put it on the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
but it's good.
Bob
Good.
again.
Like it's not like there won't be like stuff to make fun of.
There's a lot.
Can I watch it with my kids, or is it?
Yeah,
inappropriate?
100%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Look, we need a new show.
Yeah,
Please.
I can't
Stop
tell you how many Minecraft YouTube videos we're watching these days.
Are you
I
playing
mean,
Roblox on
Bob Belcher-
The Amazing Race?
Bob Belcher hasn't sat in a bathtub and sent out inspirational messages, so that could be a negative
Yes.
against him against Reverend.
That is the thing that got me blocked. So I'm going to put that as a positive in Bob Belcher's
Well, what did you
category.
say? You
I
made
just
fun of
felt
him
like
for
he
being
was
in the
not.
back?
I made fun of him. Tweeting from the bathtub. I sure did on his T-Mobile sidekick too.
And
I
you
thought that
tagged
shit was-
him.
and did. I wanted him to know it. But again,
Mm-hmm.
this wasn't me making fun of him. This was me trying to start a conversation with him back on the Twitter days where you could actually talk to famous people and they cared. Now it's like, and he was a little sensitive, you know, so I'll take that from him. But I definitely started that feud, even though he ended it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like whereas Bob lets his kids be them, I feel like a lot of the Reverend episodes deal with Rev like trying to take control of his kids' lives and make them do something they didn't want to do.
He does. Like, he is the face of capitalism. Like, if you have a talent in his household, he will put you to work. You are going to start a business. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're going to start a business. You are going to create a song. You're going to have a music video. But I mean, he goes to the ends of the earth for these kids as far as like financially speaking. He just there is no limit to the amount of money he will spend on his children. Not to say that makes him a good dad, but I mean, that's why the capitalism is so strong in that household, because they have expensive tastes. But
see,
I'm definitely going with
Bob is poor, but he makes
Yeah.
it work for his kids. Like
That
the
is
amount
true.
of like low tech stuff he does for his kids to make them happy. I think Bob's got this all the way.
Yeah, I'm a Bob Burgers stan, and Bob Belcher specifically. So
Yes.
yeah, this is
Okay.
a runaway.
All right. So
Okay.
Bob Belcher advances.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I have the last play and vote. My person is Ned Stark.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do a mini play in. I'm gonna do Tywin Lannister and Jaime Lannister, because who's the real dad there against Ned Stark? So an all Game of Thrones pod here.
Who's the real dad there? Okay, so you're saying that Jaime Lannister is actually Joffrey's dad? Is biologically Joffrey's dad? That's what you're trying to say?
Isn't he or no?
I mean, we don't.
Yeah,
Like,
I
is it
think so. Yeah, I think it's. But I mean, like, I understand putting like adopted dads into, or even a father figure.
Mhm.
But I mean,
But unconfirmed
But
dads.
Jaime's the dad. He's the
Is he?
dad.
Is he?
Okay.
If we have
I
to
think
take him
he
on
could-
Maury, he shouldn't be part of the bracket.
Yeah.
But is he the dad?
I think he is.
Mhm.
I thought it's a stat. I
Like,
don't know. I'm not.
I mean,
I
we
read
don't-
Game of Thrones. I watch
Yeah,
it, but I don't.
I
We
mean,
haven't
he has
seen a
he has
paternity
blonde
test.
hair. Like, I think that it is like basically confirmed, but in no way is like this Jaime like act as the dad. So I think as bad as Tywin is,
Mhm.
like, I think
Yeah.
he's more of a
Yeah.
dad.
In
I mean,
hindsight, Tywin, how bad was he? Kind of a cool guy.
No, he sucks. He sucks. Tywin
Mhm.
Lannister is ass. He's ass
He was
water
ba-
as a
He was
father.
bad. Okay, so either way, they're gonna lose to Ned
Ned
Stark.
Stark wins,
So
yeah.
okay, so
Wait,
all right.
pause. Wait, we ain't gonna talk about it. Oh, we can save Ned Stark for the future round, because I have qualms.
But that's
well,
what you
we're
want to
about to
do
get
as
to
you
Ned
write in Akiva Tywin Lannister.
Nobody's gonna beat Phil Dunphy. I didn't pick where
Might as
where
well
the
put in
matchup
Cliff
was.
Akiva, that you can't be
Yeah.
doing these brackets of like, oh, I'm four legs down the road, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, I don't have. There wasn't. This is the person I wanted from. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to talk about Keith Mars? I could put Keith Mars in. He's
No.
you know.
What
That's what I'm
about
saying.
what if we do more reality TV people? We got Chris Chrisley. We have
No, he was a bad governor.
we have Kanye West.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lamar
Yeah,
Odom.
Oh.
All right.
It's a
Let-
bracket
let's-
full of cancel
yeah.
people.
All right,
Yeah.
Rob. If you want now, you can share the bracket, the lovely bracket that Chester made. We
I
have
was gonna say,
we're up-
that floating head is slipping. Are you horizontal right
did you
now?
lay
No,
down?
no, I'm not.
Are you
I'm
laying
not
down?
lying
Oh,
down.
he's
I'm
getting
not
up, he's
lying
getting
down.
up.
That floating head is dropping further out of frame.
I'm not lying down. I was trying to bend over and charge my computer.
Okay.
Anyway, okay. So we're up to the Sweet 16. We're gonna go a little faster now because we're already, almost 2 hours in.
But you want to put the bracket up.
Yes, if you don't mind, put the bracket up for the YouTube watchers. Lovely bracket made by the Chess Man. And
The
so our
Chess
first
Man?
match. That's not what you call him?
I've
I'm
never
gonna
called it
start calling
that.
that.
Yeah.
I don't think people call him that. Okay.
Man.
We have the animated dads going up in the Sweet 16. We have Homer Simpson against Fred Flintstone here.
Fred
boy.
wins this, right? Like Homer has actively done horrible things to his kids on accident, obviously.
So many
but-
episodes,
Yeah,
though. Like,
no.
if you had to do 500 episodes with your kids, you'd eventually screw up. You know what I mean?
I'm going to vote Homer because the Fred Flintstone kid was an add-on to his show and to his life. Like, it was a
Mhm.
show-saving measure, as some of these
Mhm.
shows do to add kids. And when the kid was there, it was barely involved. But I think Homer has had a lot of good parenting moments. He's had a lot of bad, too. But I think he's had, like, good parenting moments. And I can't really remember good Fred Flintstone parenting moments, so I'm going to give it to Homer.
Chappelle, you also talked about like monetizing your kids. You said with Reverend, like that Homer Simpson was really saved by the monetization of Bart, right? That Bart
Mhm.
became the breakout star in the early seasons, and you have to give him some credit for that. Like,
Oh, we're
Bart,
going
you know,
meta. We're going meta.
Wait,
are we?
yeah. Wait. What are you giving him credit
I'm saying
for?
like he turned Bart into a star. You know,
He did.
He-
Those-
yeah,
he
but
was, like, set up
Homer
Bart.
became the bigger star of the show. Nobody cares about Bart Simpson.
anymore.
Homer has
It's
had more
interesting,
longevity.
right?
Homer has
Right.
more
I
longevity
think,
than Bart.
because I think like in the early 90s, it was like like we
Eat
said,
my
calling his
shorts.
name, eat my
Yeah.
shorts, cowabunga.
Cool your
His-
jets, man.
Yeah, his phrases did not like play well once you got to the mid and late 90s. I agree, but he was definitely the breakout star. Now nobody would, if someone said Bart's their favorite character, you'd like look at them sideways. It would be weird.
Mhm.
I'm going Homer here. Is Fred Flintstone a great dad? He's very old school. Who knows what was going on in the Stone Age? How much parenting was he doing?
It was the Stone Age. That is true. I just feel like you were going to have, if you did a pros and cons column, right? You were going to have more like a lot of cons for a Homer Simpson, and you're gonna have pros. Whereas for Fred, you're not gonna have any cons, but you're gonna have a lot of like neutrals, right? There's gonna be a lot of like NAs there, but there are gonna be literally no negatives when it comes to like the long-term effects on these kids. I mean, like, who would you rather help you with your homework? I'm never calling Homer Simpson for my homework help. If I want this person
Would
to
you
pick
call
me up from
Fred
school,
Flintstone?
Yeah, but
who-
like,
if I had to
Flintstone's
choose
different.
between Homer and Fred, if you're looking at the like,
Like
if
Homer
you're saying
Simpson works in a nuclear power plant,
But he
that
works
Fred
poorly.
Flintstone drives a car with his feet.
yeah,
we don't even know where like arithmetic was in Fred Flintstone's like time.
right,
At least Homer has learned some math, like
has he?
presumably.
Has he? No,
I don't think he's that good at
If,
math.
He's
if
not
I'm
good at
looking
it, like, but
if I'm looking at one of these people to pick me up from school, I would bet on Fred Flintstone showing up with the feet-driven car.
But he might not be able to
before I
stop the
would
car
bet
with his
on
feet.
Homer Simpson showing
Fred
up. Period.
Flintstone abuses animals
They're
constantly.
dinosaurs.
It's
And
like,
It was a
oh,
different
man,
time,
hey,
Rob.
Right.
hey,
It was
Fred,
a different
the
time.
The vacuum is
It's
full, and he'll
labor.
like take that like
he'll
little
beat the
like
bird against the
and
trash
just, like,
can and
and
empty
just,
it.
like,
They
beat the
wanted
hell
to
out
be
of it.
abused. He taught
is
his
Homer a
vacuum how to
great dad?
read.
Is Homer a great
Yeah.
dog dad, Rob? Don't they always have a
He's
new one
fine.
of those dogs?
Oh,
He's
really?
fine.
Santa's little helper, Mark 18.
Yeah,
this
they're
dog
up to like
just dies
18
every week.
dogs.
Yeah, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop
It
it.
should have had
So,
3 in 30 years.
I feel like for me that while Homer Simpson might not be a good dad, I think he cares more than Fred Flintstone. And so
Homer
I think
Simpson has never done anything, to my knowledge, like intentionally bad to his kids.
yes, he is dumb, but I do not think that makes him a bad dad. Whereas Fred Flintstone, I just do not think that he cares. Like maybe he cares about his wife, but does he care about his kid that much? I'm not sure. So
Well, and I mean,
my vote's for Homer.
Most Flintstones episodes are about how like Fred is trying to get out of treating Wilma badly. So I don't know even if that's true.
He just trying to spend some time. He just wants some time alone. So here's the thing. You're
Oh,
right.
with
Y'all,
Barney.
I will give y'all credit because of Homer's relationship with Lisa and nothing else. Because he does not remember that Maggie exists 90 times out of 10, out of 100. And then you got Bart, who is literally just a foil to him at all turns. So
I would challenge that he doesn't care about Maggie because I remember
forgets about Maggie.
I literally the other day saw a clip from The Simpsons that was like Mr. Burns had put some like crazy message up on Homer's workstation where you have to be dedicated to your work. And Homer put up a bunch of pictures of Maggie, and blocked out the letter so it said "do it for her." So I mean, he loves Maggie.
Listen, once in 5 billion episodes, he shows up for the kid. But I'm just saying, like a broken clock is right at least twice in 1 trillion episodes of The Simpsons run. So I am agreeing with y'all, but make no mistake, Lisa is what is saving him, not that Maggie poster that he did that one time in his office, where he should have been like monitoring the nuclear power plant that somehow he got hired at.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm voting Homer. Rob, who'd you vote?
It's
Homer.
unanimous.
So, all right, Homer. All right, everyone voted Homer. All right, we got Phil Dunphy versus Ned Stark. We didn't really get to talk about Ned Stark in the first round. Ned Stark is interesting because we talked about Logan Roy and his sort of like kid from another marriage. And, I feel like Ned has Ned is Jon Snow's dad. Jon becomes like one of the leaders of the free world, basically.
Yeah, I mean, is this a safe place to talk about Game of Thrones spoilers?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
all shows are spoiled during this series.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
I found out a whole bunch about Friday Night Lights today.
Yeah, boy. So, I mean, Ned Stark brings Jon Snow in, tells that really tells everybody like, hey, this is my bastard kid. It was, spoiler alert, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is a saint, first of all, because to take all this abuse from what was the mom's name?
Catelyn.
Catelyn Stark for years, and never be like, listen, he's not really my bastard. Like, I didn't really. For years.
So wait, pause. Rob, why didn't he just tell her?
He's dumb. He's dumb. I don't
didn't
know.
let his kid get subjected to being called a bastard every day.
Even though it wasn't even a child or
Right.
bastard,
that he had to do for appearences, like that they had to because they might have killed him if that wasn't the case. But he could have told his wife just to get out of the hot water.
Remember that time Bran got pushed out a window and Ned left and never sat by his bedside? Oh, you wouldn't remember. It's the second episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, in terms of the matchup, I think it's a no brainer here that Phil Dunphy's gonna go move forward. But
yeah. I mean, Ned got killed because he was so dumb and couldn't see the writing on the wall. Phil Dunphy is also dumb, but didn't get killed.
He did,
and I think that part of the game is staying alive to be a dad to your family.
Right. Phil Dunphy was a dad for more hours than Ned Stark was.
Yeah, longevity matters.
Yeah, but if you have some agency in whether or not you get beheaded, and I feel like that Ned was not able to read the writing on the wall, and for better or for worse, Phil Dunphy
never got
never
beheaded.
executed.
He's only ever really kind of almost set himself on fire doing close-up magic. That's as far as
we say quality over quantity for that.
Yeah,
quantity over quality.
Part of it is being there. So I think that Phil Dunphy, I do think is actually a good dad and would actually do a lot for his family. Ned, I think his heart is in the right place, but also, unfortunately, in many ways, his head is not.
Phil Dunphy, his head is not in the game. Phil Dunphy would never kill his daughter's direwolf. Especially an innocent one that was nowhere even near the altercation,
There would be a whole season on, oh, you killed the dire wolf.
Yeah. Whereas Ned Stark was like, yeah, I'll leave the other one that actually did the biting alone, but I'm going to kill yours, Sansa.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's like an NFL draft, strength stayed alive.
Okay. Yeah. It's a strong one.
Yeah.
All right, we
I
got
think an
Splinter.
interesting bracket though might be best husband bracket, which is
Oh,
different than
oh,
this.
that's a good
yeah.
one.
Rob,
Yeah.
you and I, we're the men for that job. Maybe next March.
Mhm.
Good one.
Mhm.
Splinter versus Phil Banks is a great
Oh,
matchup
wow.
here.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any similarities here between these two before we start to contrast them?
Took in a child, or Splinter took in
Or
multiple
several.
children.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they have
That's
4
a-
kids.
That's a win in the Splinter column. Jason, I know you're a Ninja Turtle guy. Do you have any instances of Splinter's parenting, like specifically, or is it all just like dojo related activities?
It's the show is he's kind of a passive dad in the show. Like he doesn't.
Mm.
There's not a lot of heartwarming messages of fatherhood to the turtles, but we can see that he's taught his kids the right from wrong. They say, has Will ever saved the world? Let me ask you that.
No,
In some
probably not.
movies,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, there was
Independence
Independence Day.
Day,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all right,
Famously, he
Yeah.
is the main person. who
I
saves the
Robot.
world.
He's actually saved the world more than all of these people,
Many
actually.
times. How many
Yeah,
times have
that's
you
true.
saved the world?
Right. Aside from maybe Jack Bauer, I think he's the most not like but
Mhm.
no, I think that's a good point. But it's another one of those things where Splinter is a passive dad. And we just like completely killed Fred Flintstone over being that. And also Splinter is a dad who's more invested in his job. You know, his job was a dojo master to the Ninja Turtles, and that's what he did. He did it well. But I don't think we have any parenting moments where Uncle Phil, his entire personality is I was a dad.
Yeah, as much as I have, ultimate love for Splinter, I would have to give it to Phil Banks here.
Yeah, if
Mhm.
Splinter, if Donatello and Michelangelo and Raphael and Leonardo, if they're like, hey, we just want to open a pizza shop, we're not
Yeah.
fighting crime
I mean,
anymore.
Donatello's not
think
going to be
Splinter-
living up to his potential if he does that. So that should tell you something about this one, just parenting.
He also-
I don't think Splinter would really he'd lose all contact with him basically. if they
He
just took him to the pizza store.
raises his adopted kids in a sewer. Like, I think they could get an apartment. Like,
feeds
It's
him nothing
true.
but pizza every
nothing but
day.
pizza. Not that
It
great
wa-
a dad.
A single parent of 4 though. Of 4,
That's
like
true.
that has
That
to come.
diet.
Like, I mean,
means
he
a
was
lot.
very poor. It's not.
No.
We can't criticize him for having to live in a sewer.
Mhm.
He's a rat.
Get a job,
Mhm.
Splinter. Get a job.
Right.
I think it's the dojo. The dojos don't pay what they used to.
That doesn't
It's true.
pay. It doesn't pay to just train your kids. Like, open up the sewer. Like, take some other students in. Like,
Bring
geez,
some
charge
people
some
in.
parents.
Splinter, please, for God's sakes, take care of your kids.
I
don't know
Dad,
if
we
we're
had to
making
steal,
out
we had
to
to
the
steal
crowd.
another pizza, Dad, because you don't have a job.
All right, this is a funny matchup. Carl Winslow versus Goofy.
Well, let's
listen,
talk it out. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
there's
Goofy's
an
not
argument.
known for his dadding, so you got to really make the case, Jason. This is your choice.
For me,
Goofy as
Goofy's
a
known for his
dad.
dadding. I was
I
never a
was gonna say, if
big
he's
like.
not, what is he
I was
known
never a
for?
big Goofy, Mickey, Minnie person. So my introduction to really to Goofy was like Goof Troop and a Goofy movie. So that's
Yeah.
where my knowledge of Goofy
But does
stems
he
from,
get
pretty much.
any? Is the Goofy movie canon for this TV dad's bracket? This is not a movie dad's bracket. you know?
Oh, interesting.
I mean,
True.
that's a question, but I mean, he was still a good dad in the TV show. Like he took all sorts of odd jobs to support him and his son. He's a single dad doing it on his own, widowed.
Isn't Goofy kind of dumb?
I mean,
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, half
But
of
he
the
get-
dads we talked
but
about.
he
is
gets
dumb.
points
That's
for-
probably a bigger conversation we need to have. Is like,
Yeah.
why are all these TV
Why are there so
dads
many dumb dads?
idiots?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, he's
Yeah.
dumb, but he gets the job done.
But Carl Winslow gets the job done. He's like saving stores from being robbed, like
Listen,
a few
it's
times a
tough-
season.
It's tough for me
great
to
at his job.
argue. It's tough for me to argue against Carl Winslow. Yes, that is
He's
very
he's
true.
an objectively listen. If you don't want to vote for any cops, fine. He's an objectively an effective
Yeah.
police officer. Carl Winslow.
Yeah, I mean, Carl Winslow is, I think, a much more iconic TV dad than Goofy ever was. And was Goofy ever a dad on TV? I think is definitely a fair question.
He was a dad on TV. Yes,
But he didn't start as a dad. They gave him that kid later, right? In like early stuff, he's not. I don't
Listen,
think
if we're talking about canon, like I don't think Goof Troop is canon for the old serials of Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy and
Right.
Pluto. I don't think that's in continuity. But yeah, I understand what y'all saying. I it's my write-in, so I had to argue for it. But I think ultimately, I'm
Yeah.
not mad at Carl
Yeah.
beating.
So we're all voting
Great.
Carl Winslow.
Phil Banks versus Carl Winslow.
That's a
matchup coming up
heavyweight.
in,
That's
That's
a
a
soon.
heavyweight bout.
All right, let's
Just
move to
sending
the other
people
side
to
of the
prison.
bracket. We can move a little quicker because this episode might end up being very long. We have Hal Wilkerson from Malcolm in the Middle against Dr. Jason Seaver from Growing Pains. That's Rob's write-in.
That was my write-in. I don't know Hal Wilkerson so well.
I think Jason Seaver takes this because he's more of an involved parent, whereas Hal is a lot less involved in his kids' lives. Like as Akiva said, Lois is the driving force in the household. So I think I would give it to Jason Seaver for sure.
Yeah, if you're not the best parent in your house, then how are you the best parent in this bracket? You know?
Right.
Yeah, that's tough. Chappelle, do you have a feeling about Dr. Jason Seaver versus Hal Wilkerson? Okay, Chappelle maybe frozen. Some technical difficulties. Okay.
Or he's thinking really hard about it.
You're thinking hard, yeah, and he's muted. Okay.
Yeah. No, what'd you say? What'd you say? I missed the question.
Hal Wilkerson versus Dr. Jason Seaver.
Again, I don't know much about the doctor here, like, because it's been a long time since I watched Growing Pains, or honestly, or Malcolm in the Middle. But I did make my point earlier for Hal Wilkerson. I mean, he's dumb, like all of these dads. He's just stupid, and he's kind of a pushover. But I don't think he's a bad dad. I think you probably get more heartfelt moments with Jason Seaver than you do with Hal, because a lot of Hal is just kind of passive. But if I had to lean in the direction, I guess Dr. Jason Seaver would probably be where I would go.
Okay. Yeah. He's also a psychologist.
Yes.
He's some sort of a therapist. I think that helps.
Yeah, he's not dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Seaver wins. We spent a lot of time in the first round talking about Tony Soprano. I don't think we really need to go too much in depth in Danny Tanner versus Tony Soprano, unless someone wants to argue for Tony going forward. I think this is where he meets his match. Danny Tanner, one of the favorites in the bracket.
Yeah, Danny Tanner takes it, I think.
Let me just make some points against Danny Tanner.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Some Danny slander.
Okay. I mean that Danny Tanner does like end up with like kind of this weird environment of, you really should keep, a work-life balance, and ultimately, ends up with his TV co-host living under the same roof as himself. So it's sort of like there's a lot going on.
Surprising they never have some sort of like will they or won't they? Imagine that.
Well, then she was dating his brother-in-law.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. At the time. I mean that his kids are often unsupervised, and his question about whether Jesse and Joey, or one of his kids did drive a car through the wall in the kitchen.
One of them shoplifted.
Yeah, not great. Not great.
Yeah.
And he also
lets Kimmy Gibbler in the house constantly.
He does, and he also has backup. Not to say that his housemates are the best, but it's not like he was parenting on his own. He got it's a lot of dad energy in that house, if you will.
I'm trying to think of Tony Soprano's best parenting moments. Not sure. He does they do have a lot of parties at the house. That's nice.
Yes, he has parties at the house. He feeds his kids a lot. They're very good at feeding their kids, honestly. They don't go hungry. I mean, they give a donation to Columbia to help Meadow at Columbia. That's not bad.
I mean, we know that Rebecca from Full House would do the same thing.
Yes, that is true. That is true. So, yeah, I guess it's Danny Tanner, but I do think that Tony Soprano, as a dad, but based off of how much do they care about their children, I do think that his heart is in the right place. I just think that he is limited in his skill sets.
Yeah.
Also, his mom was such a disaster, as the show goes into. It hurt him.
Yeah, I mean,
really screwed him up.
Yeah, sometimes you don't know how to be a good parent.
Right. Yeah, like Tony Soprano is a decent dad. I mean, it's just one of these things.
Great dad to animals, also Akiva.
That's true. Loves animals. Loves
he
dogs.
would never abuse his vacuum, like Fred Flintstone did. So
neither would Danny Tanner.
He's up against a juggernaut here, and there's nothing he could do. I'm sorry, it's just not going to work out for him.
Yeah, yep. Up against a huge favorite to win. Can't whack Danny Tanner.
All right, we got Mike Brady versus George Jefferson here. A couple older shows.
Okay, two great dads.
I mean, like Chappelle mentioned, George Jefferson his fatherhood is secondary. I think Mike Brady is all about being a dad. That is that's Mike Brady's thing. He's a
also
dad.
How many kids he has? He's got so many more kids,
Right.
So many more.
Are you surprised that they never tried for more kids, Mike and Carol? You know that they. Each
I mean,
came
I have
in
a lot
with
of kids,
3.
and I
Well, they
just
had
think,
cousin
like,
Oliver late in the
They
in the
did
show.
right at the very end.
Yeah.
But they were both relatively young. I'm surprised they didn't say like, hey, like maybe we need like one more.
Mike is like,
One
listen,
for
I
the-
got
one for the road.
6 kids, I got a maid. You're a housewife. We're stretching the dollar as it is. Let's cap it at
Mhm.
6.
Listen, it
Yeah.
was the 70s. You know, the dollar went a long way. Yes, I think Mike Brady is a choice here. As someone with a lot of kids, he has even more kids, and I respect it. You know, it's very hard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, if they tried to have another baby, then they would have to admit that they were having sex. And back then on TV, like that was
True.
like, whoa,
Yeah, it's
we
true.
weren't talking
Yeah,
about it.
but
back
they were
then.
one of the first people that shared a bed.
Yeah,
Again,
but what were they
that
doing in the
was
bed?
scandalous.
Nothing.
It was
Yeah.
the swinging 70s.
That was scandalous.
Not
you know?
not on, not at 8 o'clock.
And
on
listen,
TV.
there was the transition apparently was very smooth for Mike Brady. There was never any storylines about Mike like struggling to parent these new kids that he got. So obviously he did it
Yeah,
well.
and never once did one of those girls say, "You're not my real dad."
right.
Right.
Like,
Like, I don't even know
I'm talking to
why
you,
that was.
Mike.
I
Yeah.
don't even know why that was part of their story that their spouses had died, because you would never know it if you just dropped into the Brady Bunch.
Right.
Mhm.
You would
Yeah.
think it was a dad who wants to spend more time
They
with
don't
the
go
boys
into
and
it a
a
lot,
woman
I
wants to
don't
spend more
think.
time with the girls. That's all it was.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean,
Right? They never say why how they died or anything.
No,
right?
I think the movies in the 90s that were like really kind of like parodies and
the
spoofs
edgy
kind of
ones, yeah.
did I think they had a storyline about how the didn't one of them, I think the dad of the 3 girls popped back up in the movies, I think.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
But I think he was
But
dead
it
in
was
the show,
played
yeah.
for comedy, obviously.
Yeah, I don't
Mhm.
think they were both widows. I think that maybe Carol was
okay.
divorced.
I thought in the show they both were.
Hmm.
You know
Let
who
me
would have
look.
spiced this up if we had thrown Ricky Ricardo in here? Like let's
Latin
let's
flavor,
be
baby.
edgy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let's spice
Yes.
things up.
Okay. So that it was never addressed one way or the other. The Sherwood Schwartz, the creator of the show, wanted her to be divorced, and the network wanted her to be a widow.
Mm.
Mhm.
Okay, so we don't really,
Okay.
we don't
But
know.
I do think in that movie he came back from the dead or something. Like they thought he was dead, but he came back. He
Mhm.
showed back up
Mhm.
in those like
Maybe she
90s
convinced
movies.
Mike Brady to kill her husband.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If
Crime
the Brady
scandal.
Bunch was a 2023
Grittier-
movie, like,
grittier.
Yes,
Yeah.
the
Very
Peacock
gritty.
version coming soon. I know.
yes, there you go.
Okay, get crime
Mike
scene on it.
Brady advances, and then the last Sweet 16 matchup, we got Frank Costanza versus Bob Belcher. I have not seen Bob's Burgers, but I can't imagine that Frank. I mean, would you want them to be your dad? No, but Frank Costanza will ruin your life. You don't want him to be.
Frank
your dad.
Costanza only passed through because he was up against Frank Gallagher from Shameless.
Yeah,
Yes.
We
a
did-
monster.
We did not even discuss Frank Costanza. I have no clue if he's a good dad or a bad dad because he was up against Frank
He
Gallagher.
is
It
not.
didn't matter.
Yeah,
He's
it
not a
doesn't
good
matter.
dad.
And just like this,
Probably-
crazy
and just like
person.
Yeah.
Frank Costanza had the worst matchups like in this tournament. I mean, he easily beat the worst person, of course, but now he's going to easily lose to one of the best dads in the bracket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and really for Frank Costanza, the late great Jerry Stiller, probably better real life dad to Nepo
Yes.
baby Ben Stiller,
That's
and
right.
also probably better TV dad on King of
And
Queens.
100%. He got nominated.
Oh,
People wanted a King of
He-
Queens
he-
matchup.
He
didn't
at
make
times
it.
did
Arthur
try to break
Spooner.
up Carrie. He did at times try to break up Carrie and Doug on King of Queens.
but didn't
Yeah.
the show try to do
Mhm.
that too? I mean, like he might have been before his
True.
time.
Mhm. But so I think that he was probably Jerry Stiller was miscast on this bracket for Frank Costanza.
Probably. I think we have a real conversation if we're talking about King of Queens. But yeah, Frank Costanza going up against Gallagher was a no-brainer. I think the only person Gallagher could have beaten is probably Tywin Lannister. And so, and I say probably. And so, I think this is the end of the road for Frank
Mhm. All right.
Costanza.
Elite Eight. By the way, if you're looking on the screen and you see the TV dad bracket, who makes the graphics, Rob? You know who makes the graphics?
Tricky. Yes,
Tricky.
I do know who makes them. Yes.
Okay.
Great job, Tricky.
Yes, tricky.
But I did not tell Tricky who made the tournament.
Oh
so
yeah, there's
he,
a lot of people here that are.
Can we
Yeah.
discuss the honorable mentions in the graphic,
Yeah,
please?
the
Listen,
dad
Ray from Sister should have been here.
Yes.
Ray should have been here.
Yeah,
He
he
was
did
who-
get some nominations, but you listen, you
Mhm.
guys could have put him in. But yeah,
I considered him on my write-in. I did, but I just can't
I
like.
think-
Ray was like he was a interesting dad, but I couldn't think of a lot of good instances where it was like dad time with Ray, so I just left it alone.
Mm-hmm.
James from Good Times, I think, may have fell early. I think.
Yeah.
He was very poor, but he had a horrible wife, and so I think that
Oh, wow.
really held him back because there were moments
Who's
where they,
Al Bundy?
huh?
under Al Bundy in this picture?
That's the dad from what's that show?
Oh, that's
Schitt's Creek.
yeah,
Schitt's
that's
Creek,
Schitt's
yeah.
Creek. That's Eugene Levy.
Okay.
I can't think of his
I'm
name, though.
anti-Schitt's Creek. Yeah.
Oh, that's what?
It's like a very watered down version of Seinfeld.
What? Oh, because they're all good
Not
people.
good.
Yeah. So Eugene Levy's character, I believe it's John. And he's a great dad, honestly, in that show. He would have been tough to beat in these brackets.
Okay.
Okay. Elite Eight, Rob. We got Homer versus Phil Dunphy. Phil Dunphy is like a minus 500 favorite here.
Yeah, I think
Is there
this is
a
where
case for
this is where Homer meets his end. I think.
Homer was
Mhm.
already on borrowed time.
Yeah,
It was a good run, but
He had a great run.
Phil Dunphy ends up
Yeah.
moving on.
All right, great matchup here. Phil Banks from Fresh Prince versus Carl Winslow from Family Matters.
Ooh, this is
so tough.
this is a
I
tale
want
of
to
those
ask you a
times,
question.
Jason. Yeah.
Yes. I want to ask you a question.
Mhm.
Who would you rather be your dad? Carl Winslow or Phil Banks?
That's
I
easy.
think just Phil Banks for the wealth aspect. Honestly,
Yeah, I was thinking that
to
too.
be
Yeah,
honest.
rich dad, poor dad. We're going with rich
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah.
I was thinking I'd rather be rich in LA than middle
Okay.
class in Chicago.
Well, how
probably.
about this metric? Who cares more about being a dad? Phil Banks or Carl Winslow?
That's
Mm.
tough. I
That's
think
tough.
I think they're kind of equal. To be
Yeah.
honest, like I
They're
don't know.
They're almost mirror images of each other. Like,
Yeah.
this is a debate that has been happening on black school playgrounds since the beginning of time.
Mhm.
Since the invention of the
But listen, if it's about if you're a kid in this family, think about who you have to deal with. You either are dealing with Urkel being around you all the time, or you're dealing with
Mhm.
Will being around you all the time.
Yeah.
Which would you rather? I'd rather probably Will.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
can
Now-
send Urkel home though. He can't send Will home. It's
Yeah.
different, you know.
And-
Urkel is
He tries to send
Okay.
Urkel home, but Urkel worms his way back.
and
in the
also
house all the time.
Stefan is like a cool guy. Stefan shows up,
Yeah.
and then he's like, that's not so bad.
So I think that, we talked about like single parent versus two parent households, but I think you get a major edge if you also have a butler also.
Mm.
Like, I mean, to have like
Yeah.
a butler in the house,
Yeah.
like that's doing like a lot of like the heavy lifting.
Well, Carl has the grandma. She's
Yeah,
around
that's
a
what the
lot.
grandma
Yeah,
is.
Mother Winslow
Mama
doesn't
Winslow-
do a lot of chores
Right.
around the house.
Mother Winslow you could say like, hey, I got to go out. Mother Winslow, can you keep an eye on like Laura and her boyfriend? Make sure they don't make on the couch. She'll do that, you know.
But do you think that's what a butler does?
No, but the butler won't stop them. But the butler will report back.
Jeffrey
know,
would stop them, I think.
Yeah, Jeffrey might. But the truth is, like, if they would say like, hey, this is what I saw. He's like, the walls have ears kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, didn't Aunt Rachel
Okay.
live with them as well though? Like there are
Yes.
people.
Oh yeah,
in
no,
the
it was a
Winslow
full
household.
house. Yes, yes.
It was
For
not a
sure.
full house. That's a
No
different
pun
show.
intended.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aunt Rachel has what's that kid's name? Also, there's a lot of people in that
Richie.
house.
To
I mean, listen, they
me-
lived in Chicago in like a 7-bedroom house. It was
All
you
right,
know, they had some
I
money.
have my vote here. My vote is for Carl Winslow. That Carl Winslow to me is more iconic as a TV dad, put up with more stuff. Phil Banks to me is a more iconic TV uncle. I mean, he would be known
Oh.
affectionately as Uncle Phil.
Yeah.
Carl is a dad first,
Daddy
not an
Carl.
uncle.
Yeah.
I think more
And he's also
dedicated-
basically a dad. You could say like, well, I mean, Phil Banks took in Will. Well, Carl basically took in Urkel, and he's not even related to him.
Yeah, we never see Urkel's parents. To me, I think Carl. I said he's a great. He was a good police officer. But I don't think that's his identity. I think he'd want to be known as.
We
a good
know
dad.
nothing about his proficiency at work.
Carl. Or
Yeah.
Phil
I feel like
Banks?
they've shown Carl.
Carl.
No,
was
we
a
see him.
stand-up
We see him as a
cop.
cop a decent
Yeah.
amount, honestly.
But both Phil.
Well,
both
remember, he
Phil and
started to
Carl-
say-
or we see him like on like there's no storylines where we follow Carl Winslow to work.
There is.
We don't see him in the
do.
precinct much.
Yeah.
No, we don't see him in the precinct much, but he
see him on the
breaks up
beat.
a lot of crimes in like
Yeah.
stores and
Both,
stuff.
both Phil and Carl had to defend their children against wrongly being pulled over. So
Mhm.
this is
Same
really an equal
storyline.
matchup here. But for me, I think in terms of dedication, I think Carl might get the edge here. So I'm gonna go for Carl.
Yeah, I like the Uncle Phil thing. I think if your name is
Mhm.
Uncle, like Uncle Keeve, you
Yeah.
can't be the best dad if you're mostly known as an
Mhm.
uncle. Now, my uncle, luckily, is ironic. My niece and nephews don't know who I am or care about me, so
Mhm.
I'm still in the running. But yeah, Carl, I have got Carl over Uncle Phil.
Well, I'm outvoted here. I was gonna go with Uncle Phil, but I will
Mhm.
take my L with stride.
Mhm.
It's a
Okay.
tough matchup. It was a tough decision for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, for me, it just came down to Uncle Phil has more kids, And so like
But if we talk about quality over quantity,
we said their quality is probably about the same. So I was just trying to find that one edge. And
I mean, we have Hillary, who is vapid and like vain. We
And
have Carlton,
successful.
who is yes, true. We have Carlton, who is annoying to most.
And Rich.
True. And we have Ashley, who's probably the best quality of the bunch.
And the little one, Nikki.
Oh my god, I forgot about Nikki.
Yeah, see, look at you.
But I mean, I forgot about him. So what does that tell you? But we had,
Nikki.
I think Laura really brings up Carl's average. I think a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'll give it to Carl. Yeah.
And honestly, Laura, not that great, but I'll take it.
Why is she not? What's the problem with Laura?
She's a mega jerk. I mean, look, Urkel had to go and glow up for her to look at him twice.
What? Urkel is harassing her the whole series.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he doesn't know the meaning of the word
not harassing
no.
her as Stefan. It was just like, oh, he's harassing her, but look at
Well,
him
she
now.
harassed Stefan at that point.
Yeah,
That's
for-
true. But
for sure.
I mean, Laura, listen, Laura said no 1,000 times, and then he keeps coming back, Urkel.
Yeah. Laura's not great. Trust me on this one, but I'm not saying it has anything to do with Steve.
Mhm.
All right, Dr. Jason Seaver versus Danny Tanner.
Danny kills him.
Dang.
I think this is an easy W for Danny.
Man, I
Yeah.
started to put my chip on Jason though. He was going far. I kind of liked it.
Mhm.
Yeah, running
no,
into a
he's a good
buzzsaw
dad.
here. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, like Danny Tanner is the better version of this. Like Jason Seaver is a watered down Danny Tanner.
He's playing it on harder mode.
Yeah.
Even though I
He
think
also,
he
like-
came first. I think Growing Pains predates
Yes,
Full
yes.
House.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like the
so, yeah.
USPA versus Polo debate, you know,
Mhm.
the whole thing.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And then Mike Brady versus Bob Belcher. I got to go with Brady because I haven't seen Bob's Burgers. but
80 for Brady.
You guys can, if you or either you guys going to make a case for Bob Belcher.
Yes, I think Bob wins this. Bob has to struggle more, right?
Mhm.
Mike is a rich architect. He has a maid. He
Mhm.
has a housewife that can take care of a lot of the parenting duties, can really
Mhm.
back him up. Bob and Linda Belcher, him and his wife, both run the restaurant, both struggle. I think Bob takes this.
And I have to mirror that as well. Bob Belcher actively parents his kids, whereas like Mike is like the secondary or almost tertiary parent in the house because he does have a stay-at-home wife and a live-in maid. Which do you need both? But then he goes on to
No comment.
to then come in and and raise the kids at that point. You know what I'm saying? And his relationship with the daughters isn't, it's like he has a relationship with his boys because those are his boys, and he has to like learn the daughters. Bob Belcher, these are his kids, and he is like invested in each aspect of their lives. So I'd give it to Bob as well. Plus, I mean, you have to watch Bob's Burgers. Those kids are just precious.
Yeah. I'm going to abstain from the vote here. I don't
Okay.
know
Yeah.
Bob Belcher, but I don't feel like passionate about Mike Brady
Exactly.
moving on.
Yeah, Mike Brady's a baseline. I can't think of anything extraordinary he's done. I can think of like 1,000 extraordinary things Bob has done for his kids.
Yeah, and it's like when you made the dad archetype, you created Mike Brady, and then you have Alan Thicke's character come in, and it's like, oh, like you can give him some conflict and you can make him interesting, and then you have Danny Tanner who comes in and he's like the end all be all to dads, and so it's just like these are the evolutions of what was originally Mike Brady.
All right, final four: Phil Dunphy, Carl Winslow, Danny Tanner, Bob Belcher. Great final four.
Okay.
Let's start on the left side. Phil Dunphy versus Carl Winslow. Does anyone have a take here?
I think we like Carl Winslow.
Hmm.
Akiva, I don't think you're looking at the right thing. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I got my Phils confused. Phil Banks and Phil Dunphy.
Sorry.
I was like, we already decided.
I
Uncle
was
Phil.
like, you're not allowing discussion
Yeah,
on
when
this?
No,
Basically, like, damn, I think
Like, well, it's like, yeah, wait a
Yeah.
minute.
I
Wrong
kinda like
Phil.
Phil
That's
Sorry.
fair. Wrong
Yeah.
Phil.
I apologize. I got crossed up.
That's fair. Okay, Carl Winslow versus Phil Dunphy from Modern Family.
Oh, Phil Dunphy has to deal with Luke, which is one of his like loser kid. He has
Yeah,
to deal
he is
with
a loser, that kid.
He has to deal with Haley, which she is kind of like vapid and like self-obsessed.
Mhm.
And then the middle one, Alex, I think was her name, is the
Yeah.
genius of the family. So I think in a comparison to Carl, I think I'd probably give it to Phil for level of difficulty.
Oh, see
Level
that? Well, that's a new
difficulty.
wrinkle. I don't think we've graded on a curve of level of difficulty in the past. In this bracket, we've said like if the kids are not so great, we blamed that on the parent.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And then
But
also,
even though
like,
the kids aren't great, they end up good.
yeah, They did.
Oh.
He led them to the promised land.
He
and
turned
he
them
had
around.
an uphill battle.
Yeah.
That is true. Because like Frank Gallagher had 1 billion kids, but they all sucked throughout. And so and I love them all. Don't get me wrong. I take a bullet for those kids at various different times of the season. But I think for sure that like if you take in level of difficulty, Phil did a lot more with less. So I'll give him that.
Okay, Rob, I haven't watched Modern Family in a while. I brought in Adira here, who just binged the whole series.
Hi,
Adira,
Hey, Adira.
We did it over like a year and a half.
that's a year and a half because that's still binging.
That's the last time I saw a Modern Family show.
Yeah.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10, can you rate Phil Dunphy as a dad and tell me maybe like why you think he's a good dad or bad dad?
So I do think he's a good dad because like he supports his kids, but he's also like a wacko. So I don't know if that's the greatest influence, but I don't
Does
know.
he ever fix the stair?
He no.
They never fix
tries.
the stair.
No, at the end, like I'm towards the like we just finished it, but towards the end of the season, like Claire fell through the stair.
She fell through the or do his kids end up being like good or losers?
They're okay.
They're
Yeah.
okay. All right.
How
So,
about this?
one,
Akiva, can we ask this question? Is he a good
Yes.
dad because he doesn't have
Solid
multiple podcasts?
is he a good dad because he doesn't have multiple podcasts?
Yeah. Not that doesn't necessarily make him a good dad.
But it wouldn't
Okay.
surprise me if Phil Dunphy did have multiple podcasts, though. Phil
Probably,
Dunphy seems like the
yeah.
type.
Yeah.
What would his podcast be if he had a podcast? What does he know a lot about?
He's an insane lunatic inventions.
Oh, inventions. Okay.
He'd have a
And on a
magic
scale of 1 to
podcast.
10, what's your
What's
rating
my
of
what?
him?
Like a solid 7.
He's a solid 7. Okay.
Oh, 7.
Okay. And that's a scale like from 1 to me, and I'm a 10.
What's-
100%.
Oh,
What's
thank you.
Adira's knowledge of Carl Winslow? Can we get her opinions
And
on
you've
that?
never seen Family Matters, right?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Once you get me my shoes.
Cool.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, once I do what?
Once you get me my shoes,
What shoes?
Jordans.
Okay.
Hey,
Oh.
Adira. We can talk.
I did. What do you want to tell them? We kind of have to. We're in a little bit of a rush here, but
What?
happened?
What? Oh, so
We should not say the story. Actually, I
some
can get outta
people.
Here.
Oh no. Okay, so some people are more athletic than others.
It's not
to say
athletic.
the least, and some people are also less lazy than others. So
Oh,
some of us are willing
shots.
to take a 2-minute walk to our nearby grocery store, and others are not. Not going to mention the names. So I was basically, I know how to get my ways. So so my dad wanted a Diet Coke, so I told him, Coke Zero. So I made him bet me a pair of Jordans on it.
All right. Goodbye.
Wait,
You-
Adira, what
wait,
kind of
what was the
Jordans-
bet?
what color?
What was the bet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That wasn't a
you-
bet. I was gonna
You
get.
told your daughter you would buy her Jordans. If
I was
she went
gonna
to the
get them
store to buy
anyway.
you
That's
Coke
that.
Zero.
That's what happens when we have plenty of money.
This
Like
is
you
the
can do that
best
type of stuff.
dad
Door.
in the bracket by far. Because let my dad tell me he buy me Jordans at any point in my life.
You're not getting a Louis
Mhm.
Vuitton Jordans.
am. They're only 40.
Get her the
Okay,
Louis
yeah, keep
Vuitton
him muted
Jordans.
the microphone.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because I didn't know what she was gonna yell. I was getting her the shoes anyway,
The
but I
Louis
sort of
Vuitton
said like,
Jordans?
"Hey, I'm getting you these shoes. Can you get me Coke Zero?" So she thinks like that she got Jordans for a Coke Zero, but she was getting them. Anyway.
No, yeah. You basically were like, look at all the things I do for you. The least you could do is go get me a Coke Zero.
That's basically what I was saying. Like,
Yeah.
you're so lucky. I live 6,000 miles away from my dad. Like, you have the opportunity to,
Like soda for your dad.
do one of the 10 commandments. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Anyway, all right, so she sets a 7 out of 10 for Phil Dunphy. She didn't really rave about him
Yeah,
as a dad.
she
honestly.
didn't. Which is
Yeah.
which is an indictment on Phil, honestly, because I think anybody who just like at face value wanted to rate Carl Winslow as a parent or a dad, I think
Mhm.
anybody is going to probably start around 7 and go up.
Yes,
Where
I
it's
don't
like
think anyone's going below a 7. Yeah.
Yeah, where she kind of was just like 7, So I'd have to lean with her on this one and say Carl's probably better. But I think Phil does go above and beyond for his kids in a ways that Carl doesn't, because his kids require that of him. And I think that's kind of what Jason was saying. These kids are they're misfits, and so
Kids
he
need a
has
little
to
more
do a
help.
lot. Yeah,
Carl like maybe laid down a baseline of the law like earlier, and
Carl is
maybe
definitely a
they listen
disciplinarian.
more. I don't know.
100%. Phil is the
Yeah.
pushover of him and his wife.
I mean, Eddie's not great. That's
Eddie's not great either.
That's
Yeah,
the-
that's
you know,
true.
I
Maybe
feel like
Eddie-
also Carl
he's not great.
Winslow. Carl Winslow had to protect his family on multiple occasions. Like I believe like his firearm had to be drawn at like multiple points throughout the series
Multiple
to
times,
protect his family. Phil Dunphy, I don't think ever had to go to a firearm to keep his family safe.
He'd shoot himself.
I was about to say, and
Yes,
that's probably
yeah.
for the safety of all of us, honestly.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think for me,
All right, who are you voting for?
I'm
Rob?
voting for Carl Winslow. He also took it, like, not to be forgotten, he also took in his wife's sister and then her child also
that's
under,
for the best
under his
husband
roof.
bracket. That's the
That's
best
for
husband
best husband bracket, but still,
Yeah.
but still,
But yeah,
to me,
That could be a demerit in the parent column, honestly, because it's like, well, we were barely making it here, and now you done brought in extra people and all
Yeah.
that other
everything's
stuff.
about Richie. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was also not just the father to his own children, but he also took in Urkel and became a surrogate father to him. Phil Dunphy doesn't have that. Phil Dunphy has like a whole like network of like uncles
It's a
and
village.
grandparents around. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go for Carl Winslow.
There is a village there. I agree with you.
Carl Winslow, he wins here. We have finally Danny Tanner versus Bob Belcher for the right to face Carl Winslow for the championship.
When you create this bracket, it's almost like you have to make an outlier and be like, but Danny Tanner can't be in it, because it's just kind of like, what negative can you say about Danny Tanner? Like, I'm sure there's things, if I really wanted to find bad things about Bob Belcher, I could. And I have mentioned that he does really, really care about his restaurant in a lot of ways, that his kids get to kind of run amok if they want to. But it's Danny Tanner, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. For me, this is tough to say because Bob Belcher is a really good dad.
Okay.
But Danny Tanner is the face of dad.
How about this then, Chappelle? I tracked down a 2013 article from Jezebel.com that says, as TV dads go, Danny Tanner is way worse than Don Draper. Okay.
Whoa.
And they
Was
make
Don
a
Draper a
series of
father?
points.
Wow.
Yes. Okay. Here are some of the arguments made. Danny Tanner held an annual dirt inspection of his home like a fascist military officer.
He was a clean freak.
clean.
He was a
Come
clean
on.
freak.
This person
Might have had
this
some
person
sort of
writing this is
OCD,
probably like
yeah.
a dirty house.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Danny Tanner regularly and openly ridiculed his daughter's awkward friend. Now, in fairness, against Carl Winslow, like this is probably
Right, stop it.
they both have this flaw. Okay.
Yes.
Danny Tanner used the memory of his daughter's dead mother to get them to do their chores. Case in point, your mom was always so good at this stuff. I'd come home from work and everything would be perfect. DJ, how do you think mom would have handled this?
Oh wow.
No, that is funny.
Yeah.
Don't want to disappoint your dead mom, do you, DJ?
Right.
Mhm.
But he grows. That's the
clean
first
like your dead
episode.
mom. Like,
Yeah.
Is
good
that even
job,
canon in the
Danny.
pilot?
Okay. Another one. When Stephanie accidentally punches a hole in Danny's bedroom wall, she spends the entire episode in fear for her life.
As she should.
Yeah.
Put a hole in my
Okay.
wall.
I mean, does that mean you're gonna die next? Oh, come on, be a little dramatic.
Okay. He sabotages DJ's attempt to be in a band just so he can relive his old delusions of rock and roll grandeur.
I mean,
And finally, Danny Tanner feels like he's getting
Wow.
old, so he tries to date a college student.
oh wow.
Okay.
I don't know.
Wow.
Does having like various like romantic interests, does that affect the bracket? Whereas Carl Winslow stayed married the whole time?
I mean, Danny's wife died. Like he didn't really
Yeah.
have much of a choice there.
Mhm.
It's not like he's a divorcee.
Well, doesn't Carl Winslow have a new wife in the last season?
I mean,
well, I
if,
think
if,
we
if,
have
we're
to
taking, if we're
like
talking
You
the
sure that's
meta,
not Uncle Phil?
so to Uncle Phil, yeah. If we're
Yeah.
talking the meta, then yes, he did. But you know,
Well, this
The
is
Danny-
Bob Belcher first. So putting Danny over Bob Belcher.
I mean, now
my
that you bring up
vote-
all those things.
my vote would be for Bob, but I think since Chappelle is voting
Yes.
Danny and you two haven't seen Bob, I think Danny would move on.
Yeah.
All right, so Danny versus
Well, hold on, because like I said, I do love Bob, but like those were clearly outlined points, and some of them I think were valid, and I have not
Yeah.
heard a point against Bob Belcher yet. So I cannot, in good conscience, say that I could just go along with that because we did just hear an argument, and then Jason hasn't given me any reason, and y'all don't know Bob, so I mean, I'm not. Listen, if Bob wants to snap, if we want to break the bracket now,
What is the tiebreaker? Did we decide that what the tiebreaker would be?
Sam Moore is here. Sam.
Oh, Sam doesn't know
He
Bob
doesn't
either.
know Bob
Mhm.
Belcher.
He don't know Bob. listen, Bob just staying in his lane, minding his own business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. I
We just
honestly,
make a three-way finale.
I don't think I would feel good about putting Bob ahead of Danny because Akiva and Rob don't know Bob. I think
right, and
because of that.
and we've pretty much been calling him a perfect parent this entire time. It would be wild to switch it up right now. So I know the RAANAP listeners are at home just rolling their brackets away, but no, I think Danny has to win this round.
Yeah, I think you put Danny ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is the powerhouse matchup.
And Rob, next time we'll make sure we've seen every episode of all 32 shows, so we don't have this next
Yes,
time.
absolutely.
Basically.
Okay, so we got Carl Winslow, Danny Tanner. We had an anti-Danny Tanner article that Rob just read in the semifinals. I found an anti-Carl Winslow bracket.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
Drag him.
Okay. So, well, this isn't really anti him as a dad. Just it says that he is basically a ghost because he's like dead in Ghostbusters, and actually in Family Matters he's not alive anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think to me, I'm trying to think of things that Carl or Danny did that they shouldn't have. They both have very full houses, like we said. There's a lot of extra people in the house. He's a good husband. Lets his mother-in-law live there, although she's a delight most of the time.
Mother Winslow,
remember, she has the boyfriend, Mother Winslow.
She does.
And to me, I think they're both very similar. They have the annoying neighbor. I think you could argue they both probably should have moved. Like to get away from Urkel and his shenanigans, it's worth like moving houses, moving cities.
Are you saying Danny Tanner should have moved to get away from Kimmy Gibbler?
From the
100%. Or like,
I mean, Kimmy Gibbler is nowhere near
Sopranos.
Yeah,
or you could just change your locks. I mean,
right.
I think on The Sopranos, like Tony hires a hitman to like has Furio go kill Kimmy Gibbler.
You're losing me on but Kimmy Gibbler is not nearly the like nuisance that Urkel is. Like Urkel is like making like inventions that are like robots that are like invading the house. Like that
Urkel has broken many of Carl's windows.
Yeah, like, Kimmy Gibbler at worst is like an annoying neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a public.
I guess Urkel's dangerous. He could like blow up. He could have like a nuclear bomb in the basement or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of crazy things going on. Do you have anything negative to say about Carl?
I think just the issue that we have two sitcom dads here is the issue with finding something bad, because the conceit of a sitcom dad is that he doesn't have many flaws.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one like net negative in the Carl Winslow category is that he did lose a child.
It's true.
And honestly, I wouldn't bring this up in any other situation, but we have to get very arbitrary with what we're looking at here because we have this is the upper echelon. This is 1A and 1B, it seems. Their kid went upstairs and never came back down, and we never talked about it again. Negligence. Does negligence a good dad make? I think not. So I would have to say that I have to put a small demerit.
Yeah,
sounds like a true crime thing that we're going to cover on Crime Scene at some point. What happened to Judy Winslow?
In fairness, basically, are we including the canon of Fuller House into all of this? Because I could tell you what happens to the Tanner family in the future.
Tell us. Yeah, what happens in the end?
Because basically, Michelle becomes estranged from the entire rest of the family. Michelle doesn't even show up for the triple wedding of DJ, Stephanie, and Kimmy Gibbler. I mean,
Michelle is in New York. I think the whole
in
series,
New York,
right?
Yes,
yeah.
Michelle is in New York, and while I do think that Danny visits with Michelle, Michelle has no interaction with the rest of the family.
But Judy is nowhere to be found. Judy is not even given a convenient location. She has just disappeared
because Carl Winslow does not care about her. And see, that's the thing. Like, yes, Michelle has bad vibes. We knew that when she was a child. So she separated herself from the family. And that's okay. People have to protect their own peace. But for this child to go upstairs and nobody even follow after to see if she's awake, if she's alive, if she needs some food, do we mention her? Do we eulogize the girl? No. Carl Winslow just goes back to his life of, being a good dad to the kids that he chose to be a dad to, whereas Danny Tanner tried to be a dad to everybody's child, including the people at home. And even when his child is estranged, he's still a good dad because he's waiting for her to come back. She just has separated herself, so I'm sorry. You losing a child, it's hard to overlook that.
Carl
excommunicated a child.
He did.
Can I make a case for Carl against Danny here?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Danny's daughter is two different people, and he doesn't realize. Like he literally has
that's a
two
good
people as
point.
his daughter, and never notices that there's two Michelles. The whole series doesn't point it out once. He has an extra kid. Would you rather? He lost the daughter, Carl. That's a tragedy. Danny doesn't acknowledge and ignores one of his daughters the entire series.
Okay, but here's the thing: he's raising an
Yes.
extra child, essentially.
Yeah.
Akiva,
But
aren't you
does he
famously
feed that extra
face-blind?
mouth?
Would you notice if one of your kids was being played by two different
No,
actors?
I wouldn't. If it was like
Yeah.
a second Adira, like that just came in now, she was like on, doing the weekend from the real one, I wouldn't have noticed. Honestly,
All of a
no.
sudden, she wants Jordans. You're like, what is wrong with you? When did you want these?
That should be like, yeah, now I'm gonna have to get two pair of Jordans. Forget it. That's not worth. I didn't get two Coke Zeros. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I do think because Danny Tanner ends up raising an extra child as well. Like in the Michelle twins, I do think that does outweigh Carl Winslow potentially losing a child and never acknowledging the child, or deporting that child and forbidding the family to talk about the child. So that's why I would have to lean toward Danny. But I do think this is a great matchup, and I think this is a true great dad.
Yeah.
I think also with Danny, let's not forget he had to raise 3 kids that were kind of far apart. So he had to raise 3 different age groups at one time.
Yes.
So I'm going to cast my vote for Carl Winslow. And here's why. Okay, here's why. Because while Danny Tanner, is raising 3 kids, Carl Winslow is raising, objectively more.
Yeah.
Danny Tanner is one of 3 dads in this household.
Yes.
While Carl Winslow is the one and only dad in the
Rob,
Family Matters
he's
household.
got a mom, a great mom,
Okay,
Harriet.
but
Harriet
Carl has
Load.
All right, hold on. But when we include father figures like Splinter and Papa Smurf, is Joey
Whoa!
not a father to these children?
But Rob,
Is Jesse not a father to these
But
children?
Rob, Carl has
Adopted those kids.
My 3 dads.
Yeah, Carl has a wife. Carl has his mother. Carl has his wife's sister. Carl
But
has
none of
backup
them
too.
are dads to the children.
That is true. But
True.
Splinter, we're gonna stop this Splinter nonsense. He adopted those turtles. Damn it, those are his kids. Okay,
Splinter's
so-
a dad. Hashtag
Yeah,
Splinter's a
Splinter's
dad.
Yeah.
But back to Carl. I hear what you're saying, Rob, because there's a lot of dad energy in that full ass house. And so maybe he doesn't have to be as much of a dad because there's other dad stuff to spread around. There's dad business all over the place. But we just said that Phil Dunphy has a whole network of people, dads, uncles, grandparents, all these other people, Sofia Vergara. He has it all. So if we have to hold this
Vergara
against
helped
Phil, we have to hold this.
But there
against-
are, as a dad, I can say there are many different hats you have to wear as a dad, many different aspects. And Danny Tanner was able to just kind of stay in his lane and only do the things that he was good at, and then was able to outsource the other dad aspects that did not come as naturally to him. Now, did they need a mom at that house? Probably. And then Becky had to probably shoulder a lot of that load. But Joey and Jesse were doing a lot of the dad lifting in that house.
But Danny also had to support all those people in that house because
Joey and Jesse, they ultimately got their enterprises going. I think that they had to have eventually been paying some rent.
I found
I don't think he ever stole $1 from them, honestly.
no,
Mhm.
yeah. Jesse was a washed up.
Well, he didn't have to pay them for childcare.
True.
That's true.
So I found us random thread on neogaf.com. I'm assuming this is like a video game or something community. And it says Danny Tanner versus Carl Winslow, who was the best TGIF dad. And this is from 2016, so it's a little outdated. There's new information. Of course, we do see Fuller House as canon. People on here are going with Carl, Rob. I'm seeing Danny Tanner is lame as hell. He's a dweeb.
Is that part of our criteria?
I mean, do you want a cool dad? I mean, if both
you want a
dads-
cool dad.
Carl
You don't want
Winslow
a
a cool
dweeb.
dad? Was Carl Winslow a cool
Is he a
dad?
dweeb?
No,
He's
no.
definitely not a dweeb. I want to ask us what to me is the main criteria as we're about to vote. Take a deep breath. Look inside your soul. Who would you rather be your dad? And I think that's where the answer will come to you.
But can we include? Can we include the ancillary characters in
Of
our?
course. Yes, like you're living with the puppeteer and you're living with a Uncle Jesse saying "Have mercy," and you're living with Mother Winslow and Harriet, and the new Harriet, and a new, as Sam Moore points out, new Judy Winslow, who also changes characters.
Yeah.
Who would you rather be your dad?
I mean, can I say something?
Yeah.
Exasperated, heavy set police officer. Like Carl Winslow was my dad.
Yeah.
He lived that life.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
I do think that life with under Danny Tanner's reign would be hellish in many ways.
The clean thing always bothered me when I was a kid. I always thought like I would not want to do that much cleaning. And I remember I once had a camp counselor who like made us clean every day, and I thought like, oh, this guy's like Danny Tanner. He's like a real like tyrant about cleaning, and it wasn't fun to live under that reign.
Carl was probably the dad that like looked in your room once a week, said, "Clean this room up." Like he probably definitely was not a Danny Tanner level clean freak. So if I'm looking at it from the criteria of who would I rather want to be my dad, what life would I enjoy? I think if I'm taking like the Phil Banks like theory of I'd like to live in a wealthy manor, have a cool uncle.
You said a milfy manor?
No, I did not. That's your PTSD talking. Right?
Oh,
However, dark skin and Viv, I see you.
Yeah. So I think.
Well, I think we should. I think why don't we do what we do, Jason? What if we do what we normally do at the end of these brackets, and we all just vote at the same time on 3? Yeah. To see who wins. I will say a big shout out here, Rob. This idea was Fitzy's, the great Brendan Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
He thought of this idea in honor of his father. If you remember, his dad's name was Joe. I said, "Who would your dad have wanted to win this tournament?" He said, "Mike Brady." So shout out to Brendan. Thank you very much. The vote here, Danny Tanner versus Carl Winslow on 3. Everyone can vote. All right.
Okay.
1.
We're just saying
2.
it out loud.
We're gonna say the name. Hopefully it's not 2-2. Sam Moore might have to come back from his ghost
Purgatory.
position, and yeah. All right, on 3. Sam, not Sam Moore. Can't vote for Sam Moore. Danny Tanner, Carl Winslow. 1, 2, 3.
Danny Tanner.
Carl Winslow.
Okay.
All right.
I'm outvoted.
Wait. So
okay, Chappelle, you said
Jason
Carl
voted for.
Yeah, I said Carl.
Okay. All right.
But
So by a vote of 3-1.
yeah,
3-1.
Here-
And I'm not
Winslow.
mad at it. Listen,
Here's
I'm not mad at it at all.
Here's what tipped the scale for me. I forgot about 3J. Carl legit adopted another kid halfway through the show.
3J is. I watched every episode of like the first 5 seasons, but by the end, I was older. I didn't watch it anymore. 3J.
Was it 3J a delinquent? Would you want
Yeah,
to live with
he
a delinquent?
adopted a delinquent kid.
I forgot about 3J. Great name, also 3J.
Yeah, like it's like if Danny Tanner randomly decided to adopt another, like it just didn't happen.
Congratulations, Carl Winslow.
Wait,
Yeah,
I thought
honestly,
isn't that the
these two
same
dads-
theme song? Either way,
That is the same.
No,
thing,
just about. Yeah.
These two dads are
Yeah.
always on like the top 5 lists anyway. So 2 of the favorites coming in make the final. Mazel tov.
This should have been an undercover theme song bracket.
yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
The 3J thing was
2.5 hours
the
in.
last tilted scale for me. I forgot all about him. He brought in.
I forgot
another
about
kid.
3J, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, those 2 shows were on back to back, so I watched them every day as a kid. So it was fitting. To me, I always viewed them in sort of the same light. Rob.
Yeah.
What else do we got to do? It's we're over 2.5 hours in.
Yeah.
You want to spin a wheel? Do you want a quick mailbag? What are we doing?
Well,
here?
I would. You tell me. Do you have a mailbag to do? What are we doing another bracket next week?
Let me give you a couple. Yeah, that's up to you. I'm willing to do another bracket. If you say, "Hey, this is a very long episode. You want to do a regular week, we can." But we have other bracket ideas already on the wheel. Let me give you a couple. We'll do a rapid fire mailbag. I don't even think. Do we have like a mini mailbag song? I don't even think we have the minute for the.
I mean, we
the
definitely.
mailbag song.
Well, I mean, are we that pressed for time?
Oh,
mean,
okay.
it's,
I was
like-
I was rushing for you. We could do it.
I mean,
You
I
want
don't
the
have
full-
I don't have a hard out here other than
Okay.
I'd like to. Why don't we stop for a minute? Okay,
Okay, fine.
and let's take I'd like to take a bathroom break. I mean, we're 2.5 hours into this thing. And let's just reset, and then we'll come back, and we will go ahead and talk about what's coming up next week. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
All right.
All right. I gotta take my bathroom break too. I'll be right back then.
Okay. Should we end the video recording?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. Video people, thank you so much for sticking with us.
Appreciate it.
Check out the rest of the podcast if you want to hear the mailbag. All right. Bye.